Yimo followed, but he didn't go far before he was stopped. Yimo followed, but he didn't go far before he was stopped. You are Yimo? The person stopping him asked uncertainly. Yimo looked at the woman in front of him and realized it was the person he was coming to see today. It seemed that she looked at him for quite a while before stopping him, but because Yimo changed so much that she wasn't certain. Seeing it was Wang Ying, Yimo immediately smiled. Yeah, I'm Yimo, but I came for some business with you today. You really are Yimo, you've changed so much. I don't even recognize you. Last time I heard Yi Ling talk about you. You actually came to Beijing, Wang Ying called out with surprised joy. Although Yimo was well known, she hadn't heard of what he had done, and neither had a lot of people. It was because the people she was connected to were in a whole different league to the people Yimo was associated to. And Yi Ling didn't tell things about Yimo to Wang Ying. By the way, you said you were looking for me, what for? But Yimo, I haven't seen you for more than a year and you've become so handsome. Did that Ning Qingxue dump you? How about to let me be your girlfriend? Wang Ying was still so carefree, but Yimo finally felt some familiarity. Nothing important. When I was at Ninghai Uni, you helped me a lot, so I came to thank you. As for girlfriend, never mind, I can't afford a rich girl like you. Wang Ying waved her hand generously. It's nothing. Don't mention it. Let's go, big sis will treat you to a big meal. Then, Wang Ying pulled Yimo and called a taxi. She then turned to look at Yimo. Don't think that I don't have a car. I'm about to buy a car soon. If you don't have anywhere else to go, just stay in Beijing with me. I'll find you something. Wang Ying was being genuine. She knew that Yimo wasn't welcomed in the Yi family and knew that he didn't have any good connections. She was purely trying to help him. Yimo suddenly remembered about Nai Shuangshuang and scanned his spirit sense out, but he couldn't see anything. Normally, Yimo would be grateful to Wang Ying treating him to food and would go, but today, he had a lot of things to do, so he could only reject. Wang Ying, let's go. Why are you still here? Let's go Luo Luo tonight. I'm telling you that Kai Shenfeng will also be going. At this moment, a woman came out of the office building behind Wang Ying and said. She subconsciously looked at Yimo and Wang Ying, wondering what relationship they were and who Yimo was. Wang Ying immediately rejoiced. Really, you're saying that Kai Shenfeng will really go tonight? Phut, why would I lie to you? Wang Ying said apologetically to Yimo. Sorry, I can't invite you to dinner tonight. Next time. This is my number. Remember to call me. Shanshan, let's go together. Yimo took the name card and said, it's fine, next time then. But by the way, I want to ask, that last time you gave me 20k, who told you do so? It's Li Mumei. I'm going Yimo then. Wang Ying and that woman got on the car and disappeared. It was Li Mumei? Yimo repeated, but he soon understood that Li Mumei wouldn't give him money. The only possibility was that Ning Qingxue told her to do so. Although he knew that Ning Qingxue was using him as a shield and that 20k was to compensate for that, Yimo was very grateful. To Yimo, he didn't lose out on anything and he really needed money at the time. If he didn't have any more contact with Ning Qingxue later on, he would at most thank her, but now, it reignited his reminiscence for Ning Qingxue. Qingxue. Yimo murmured and remembered the one at Shennongjiu, Di Tuo Peak. A girl who risked her life to find him. How could she forget him? How could she be so heartless? Did she not have any memories at all? Yimo no longer had the mood to look for Nai Shuangshuang. He wandered cluelessly at the streets of Beijing when reminiscing all the relevant event details of Shennongjiu, bottom of the cliff. He thought about that small silver heart grass in that yard in Ninghai and that bloodstain on the silver heart grass. Perhaps, I should go back to Ninghai to have a look. Yimo murmured again. Yimo didn't know how long he had walked for when the crowd ahead interrupted his thought for Ning Qingxue. He found that he already came by the Yang River unknowingly. The Yang River and Yang Lake of Beijing didn't intersect. They were two famous sites. Those living around the Yang Lake were all the wealthy and powerful, so it was also called the Wealthy Lake. Meanwhile, there were very little people around the Yang River. Those who lived here were usually outsiders. Although it didn't have the name of Poverty Lake, it wasn't much different. At this moment, Yimo came to the Yang River and the people were gathered around a dead body. Yimo scanned his spirit sense. It was a youth in his 20s. His face was grey, but what was scary was that his eyes weren't closed and his terrified expression remained on his face. "Ah, Yimo, it's you. I'm Xiao Lei. Do you remember me?" A female journalist yelled in joy and walked rapidly to Yimo. Yimo saw Xiao Lei, who was a little skinny, and remembered how she went to Flowing Snake and Shengnongjia alone to interview and couldn't help to laugh. "Of course I remember. Are you the great journalist Xiao who's always first to run to the front line? I didn't think you would be covering such a small incident." Xiao Lei's face seemed a little sad, but she soon recovered. "This isn't small. This man is the 6th that died in Beijing. Everyone died the same way." Terrified expression. "I've followed the crime squad for more than a month, but we have no leads at all. Sai, let's not talk about this. Are you free tonight?" "Tonight?" Yimo hesitated and said, "I'm leaving Beijing tonight, so I'm not free." "Oh." Xiao Lei had some disappointment on her face. She finally met Yimo, but Yimo said he wasn't free. She looked hesitantly at Yimo and said, "Yimo, I just want to treat you to dinner once. I'm very grateful for last time, so." Yimo smiled. "No need, haha. You already did last time we went to Shengnongjia. Next time, I will treat you to dinner, but I'm really busy today." Xiao Lei. There were already people in the crowd calling for her. Xiao Lei looked helplessly at Yimo. "Okay then, next time, but you must not say you're busy again next time." Yimo stared at Xiao Lei for a long time until Xiao Lei started blushing before he suddenly said to her, "Give me your hand to me." "Huh." Xiao Lei hesitated for a long time and looked at Yimo in confusion. Yimo laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, I was too straightforward. Did you notice where the people usually die?" Xiao Lei looked around nervously and suddenly reached out her hand in front of Yimo. "It's fine, here." It was as though her hand was just a thing that she could give to Yimo. Yimo didn't reject, but he didn't grab her hand. Instead, he grabbed her wrist. Xiao Lei blushed and wanted to struggle. She didn't understand why Yimo did this. In her impression, Yimo was a very traditional person. Even if there weren't people here, he wouldn't do such thing, much less with so many people. Yimo's spirit sense felt that there were large amounts of bleak kai inside Xiao Lei's body, just like Shui Yangqing before. He immediately knew that Xiao Lei was invaded by this bleak kai. If this continued to increase, she would die sooner or later. Even if it didn't, she would be very sick. Since he encountered it and it was someone he knew, Yimo didn't mind helping her. If she didn't agree to give her hand out, then never mind. Xiao Lei wasn't Shui Yangqing. Shui Yangqing was Shui Aigua's niece, so he would help. If Xiao Lei didn't reach out her hand, he wouldn't help her. The bleak kai was soon forced out of her body by Yimo. Xiao Lei also felt she seemed to be more energetic and light. At this moment, he realized that Yimo seemed to be treating her. When Yimo let go, she immediately asked, "Yimo, is there something wrong with me?" Yimo nodded. "Yes, try to avoid touching these body. These bodies just died and they have some bleak kai on them. After you touch them, this deathly bleakness will invade your body. Once or twice is fine, but you must have arrived the scenes first every time. If this continues and if your immunity is weak, then you would become very sick or might even die." Xiao Lei dazed for a long time before saying, "No wonder recently I kept feeling sick, and after what you did to me just now, I seem to feel a lot lighter. So that's it. You saved me again. Thank you." Yimo. Yimo frowned. He just found some leads and immediately turned to Xiao Lei and said, "You're welcome. We'll talk next time. I have business to do." Xiao Lei watched as Yimo walked off and felt lost. She knew that this man didn't belong to her. Although she knew this man was very excellent, but what use was that? Xiao Lei watched as Yimo walked off and felt lost. She knew that this man didn't belong to her. Although she knew this man was very excellent, but what use was that? Yimo felt the direction that the frost kai flowed and chased up without hesitation. He was thinking whether or not Nai Shuangshuang did this. After all, not long ago, he saw Nai Shuangshuang. And the bleakness he felt in Xiao Lei's body was very similar to the bleakness in Shui Yangqing. An hour later, the sun had fallen completely. Yimo found his target in an empty patch of land. It was a man in his 40s. His face was very long and his bleak eye was even more dense than Nai Wubian. He wore white clothes and stood in the barren land in the middle of the night like a ghost. Not Nai Shuang. Just when Yimo was thinking, he saw Nai Shuang walk over. She was also here as well but was outside of his spirit sense range before. Shuang, give me the thing, then I won't take your life. The man saw Nai Shuang and his face calmed down a little and said softly. But his voice wasn't soft and was very sharp instead. Nai Shuang sneered, Nai Pai, stop dreaming. My Luan has been robbed. Even if it's still here, I won't give it to you. Under the night sky, Nai Shuang's pale face seemed paler under the moonlight. Nai Shuang, you will give it to me today no matter what. If I didn't see you at Beijing this time, I would have thought you were cultivating the same cultivation method as the 9 moon method. But now, I understand that you switched secretly. Don't think I can't tell that you're a virgin. If you cultivate our way, you can remain a virgin. The long-faced man sneered and seemed vicious as he glared at Nai Shuang's pale face. Seeing that Nai Shuang shut her mouth tightly and didn't say anything, he sneered, I'll give you an option. Give me the thing and also give me your red pill. Other than that, stay with me for a year. I can keep this secret for you. Otherwise, don't blame me. Yimo frowned as he listened. He didn't understand a sentence of it. But he saw Nai Shuang kill the 2 men at the Drunk Eye bar with his own eyes and pulled her skirt open. He definitely wouldn't believe that Nai Shuang was a virgin. But from this man's words, Nai Shuang really was a virgin. How could this be? I can give it to you. Nai Shuang walked a few steps forward and was going to pull off her clothes again. The long-faced man smiled and didn't move. When Nai Shuang finished that sentence, 2 bright beams of light suddenly shot out of her clothes like laser towards the man's forehead and throat. Yimo immediately recognized the 2 beams. It was the 2 long needles he saw Nai Shuang use to kill. Nai Shuang could actually use them as projectiles to take this man by surprise. It could be seen that she spent a lot of efforts on that. But Yimo knew that Nai Shuang was wasting her effort because this man was Earth level and Nai Shuang wasn't even Yellow level middle stage. There was no way she could take out an Earth level by surprise. As expected, the man just waved his hand and the 2 needles fell into his hands. He played with the needles and said plainly, Shuang, don't play your little tricks in front of your big martial brother. Wubian and Red Robes have been killed. Before Red Robes died, she sent the message that the person who killed her was the person who killed Wubian. I investigated. He's called Yimo. You should know him, right? Seeing Nai Shuang still refusing to talk, the man sneered, take me to find Yimo. I will let him understand that no one can kill our 9 moon sect's disciples. Then, sleep with me for a year or so and perhaps I'll let you go. You want me to help you find Yimo? Keep dreaming. You shemale want woman? Are you even able? You want woman, wait for your next life. Nai Shuang stared coldly at this man. Her eyes were full of anger and ridicule. You're asking for it. This man suddenly jumped up and kicked onto Nai Shuang's chest. Nai Shuang flew out more than 10 meters and spat blood in the air. Then, she fell to the ground and could no longer move. Yimo knew that Nai Shuang probably wasn't going to live after that kick. Just when he wanted to go over, this man seemed to have noticed something and suddenly sprung up and was about to dart away. Yimo dazed. He thought that since this man was looking for him, he wouldn't run away even when he came. Otherwise, why would this man still be looking for him? However, this man was trying to escape and he wouldn't let that happen. The purple flying sword caught up to the man rapidly and turned into a purple death ray. Yimo wanted to slice off his legs as he still needed to ask the man some questions. The man's legs were cut off but he didn't stop. He flew out a few more meters and fell into the Yang River. Blood spread across the surface of the river and quickly disappeared. Yimo followed out with his spirit sense but he didn't find any trace of the man. Looking at the 2 legs, Yimo frowned and thought he was too careless. He didn't expect this guy to be this good at running. But luckily he cut off his legs. Yimo followed along the river and still had no leads. So, He could only return to the place where the fight took place. On the ground, dark red blood seeped out from the two legs. Yimo burned them casually with a fireball, but he was thinking, this Nine Moons sect really had a whole spectrum of arts. Yimo was sure that with the way Nai Pai was running, even Tan Jiao wasn't able to catch up to him, much less normal Earth levels. If Yimo wasn't careless at the start, the man wouldn't have gotten away for sure, but he used Yimo's carelessness to escape despite losing his legs. Yimo went by Nai Shuang and scanned his spirit sense. He was sure that if he didn't rescue her, she would be dead for sure. Her internal injuries were too severe. Yimo shook his head. Although he didn't know the exact locations of the Nine Moon sect, he was sure he could find it. There was no need to ask Nai Shuang. Since she was going to die, then let her be. Yimo turned around. Although he didn't want to save Nai Shuang, he didn't want to watch her die either. The best thing to do was pretend he didn't see anything. Wait. Nai Shuang's voice was so weak that it almost couldn't be heard. She seemed to have seen someone in front of her. Although the figure was very blurry, she was sure it wasn't her big martial brother Nai Pai. But now, she didn't want to think who this person was. Yimo looked coldly at Nai Shuang and didn't speak. Nai Shuang didn't even look up and took out a letter and gave it to Yimo. Please give this to Yimo. Tell him, the Nine Moon sect people want to kill him. Tell him to run. Nai Shuang didn't even finish and suddenly spouted out more blood and then banged her head back on the ground. Her hand slunk down powerlessly and the letter became red in her hands. Yimo took the letter with surprise. He glanced at the unconscious Nai Shuang and opened the letter. Yimo, sorry that I hid things from you. I thought about things later and I'm sure that you're an ancient martial arts cultivator. I'm actually also an ancient marital arts cultivator, but the sect I came from is the Nine Moon sect. Because the cultivation methods they practice are so evil, the outer hidden sects do not allow the Nine Moon sect to join them. So now, despite being a lot stronger than many outer hidden sects, the Nine Moon sect can only be called semi-hidden sect. You will ask me, why would I treat you differently after only seeing you twice? It's because you have this Kai on you that will dissipate this killing intent on me and also reduce the bleak poison in my body. Although I came from the Nine Moon sect, I didn't cultivate their cultivation method, but no one knew that. It's because I have a pet called Luan Luan. Luan Luan can cultivate the Nine Moon sect cultivation method. It needs to digest the spirit and yin kai of dead people. And he can also change into anything. So usually, I put him in a pocket because if my master knew that I didn't cultivate the Nine Moon sect way, I would be killed immediately. But as Luan Luan got stronger and stronger, I could no longer control it. I felt it would usurp me at any time, and I'm also feeling a stronger and stronger desire for blood. I'm very scared. I felt the bleak and poisonous Kai on me was getting denser and denser. Perhaps eventually, without Luan Luan to consume me, I would be already dead. But then later, I met you. Standing by you, I felt you were different to other ancient martial artists. You Kai could make me give up the urge to kill and dispel the bleak Kai on me. I invited you to a date. This was the first time I genuinely dated a man. But in your eyes, I saw disgust and hatred. I hated myself. I was very sad. After leaving you, I cried for a week. Then, I chose to leave Beijing. I tried to control myself from killing for no reason because I don't want to see the disgust in your eyes. Because I stopped killing people, I finally couldn't control Luan Luan. Luan Luan left, but it remembered that I fed it and raised him so it didn't devour me. Luan Luan left. I fell sick. Although it didn't devour me, I was heavily invaded by the bleak Kai since I kept Luan Luan without cultivating the Nine Moon sect way before. I knew my life was at an end. I didn't go find Luan Luan, neither did I dare to return to the Nine Moon sect. So, I came back to Beijing again. I wanted to see you, even just once. So, I often sat at Drunk Eye Bar waiting for you, waiting for a miracle. The letter was unfinished. It just ended there. Yimo saw the unfinished letter and sighed. No wonder Nai Shuang said she was still a virgin. It was because she saw the disgust in his eyes. She said that just to prove something. Yimo saw the unfinished letter and sighed. No wonder Nai Shuang said she was still a virgin. It was because she saw the disgust in his eyes. She said that just to prove something. No wonder when he first saw her, she had this bleak and strange kai on her. It was her pet, a pet that devoured spirits. If her pet just devoured a male soul and hadn't fully digested it, then she would have that strange kai indeed. It seemed that everything you saw wasn't always true. When he saw her pull open her skirt, it was just her letting out her pet to devour spirits. There was actually such a thing that could change into something like the environment and ascend through devouring human spirits. If this thing was in the cultivation realm, it would be fought over by countless people, but on Earth, it was a disaster. Yimo looked at the unconscious Nai Shuang as his heart battled intensely over whether or not to save her life. Never mind, he still had 3 lotus life pills anyways. Seeing that you risked your life to notify me about the 9 moon sect, I'll feed you one. As for whether you live or die, that will depend on your luck. Yimo took out a lotus life pill and put it in her mouth. The pill immediately melted and flowed into Nai Shuang's body. After feeding, Yimo didn't want to waste time here. He got on his flying sword and flew towards Chun'an like a comet. He knew that tonight, there would be a slaughter fest at Chun'an. When Yimo got back to Chun'an, it was already almost 10 p.m. He felt that he was about to grasp something but couldn't. It was Nai Shuang's letter. There seemed to be some information he needed inside, but he couldn't find what it was. Yimo returned to his living place. The building was still quite dead. Other than the elderly on the 1st and 2nd floor, the 3rd floor and above was dead silent. Because he didn't see Luo Xian, Yimo wanted to find her. It was for that golden paper. Now, he had the latter half of the Nai Luo Sutra, but the former half wasn't found. But before he went to look for Luo Xian, Yimo still needed to go to the Hua family. Just then, when he walked to his place, he purposely slowed down but didn't see anyone come to stop him. According to Hong Sai's words, they should be ambushing him at Chun'an. How come there wasn't any? When Yimo came to the Hua family, he immediately understood why. Hua Kuming had left and Hua Qiu was nowhere to be seen. Yimo scanned his spirit sense in the library and many of the books were carried away. Although he was quite annoyed by this old guy Hua Kuming, he wasn't angry to the extent that he was going to kill Hua Kuming's family. Plus, although Hua Kuming wanted to kill him, he didn't do anything yet. Regardless of whether or not he acted on a tip-off, since he didn't attack, Yimo wouldn't waste time to kill him. There wasn't too much feud between them. Hua Kuming wasn't here and he wasn't ambushed. Yimo immediately knew that news of him killing 4 Earth levels must have been leaked to the people who were going to ambush him. Yimo didn't care too much about these people running, but one of the He Liu sect Elder Yu ran away, and he wasn't quite happy about that. After all, this man was on his must-kill list. As long as it was the He Liu sect, he wanted to kill. But Yimo also knew that it was very hard for these people to not know the news. Yimo felt quite unsatisfied but could only let it go like that. He was prepared to meet Luo Xian later and then go to the He Liu sect. He couldn't let the He Liu sect people retreat. He must remove out the source of the trouble. Yinghua Temple, although it was quite old and shattered, it had a long history. When Yimo came to the outskirts of the temple, he didn't find anyone with his spirit sense. He only smelled blood. He quickly walked in. There was no one inside the temple, but there was blood everywhere on the ground and the range wasn't small. The blood seemed quite fresh, meaning there was killing here not long ago. Did something happen to Luo Xian? When Yimo thought about Luo Xian, the first thought actually wasn't that she had the golden paper he needed, but when she patted her chest and said she wasn't afraid of ghosts, when she hung the peachwood sword outside his room in the middle of the night. Then, he thought about if she had that golden paper on her. Yimo looked around carefully. Outside, there were messy footsteps. From the amount of footsteps, it seemed there weren't many people here, only about 4 to 5. Yimo confirmed again, it was 4. If one pair was Luo Xian's, then other than Luo Xian, 3 other people also came here. Yimo suddenly felt impetuous. If it wasn't for following Nai Shuang, perhaps he would have came here when the incident hadn't occurred. Yimo circled around a few times outside and eventually saw the footprints of 2 people. It seemed that other than the 4, more people came. But they came and left quickly. Yimo was sure that other than those, there were no more marks. He looked back disappointedly. It seemed that he didn't have luck with that golden paper. Whether Luo Xian was dead or alive, it would depend on her fortune. Yimo went back to his place. The building was still dead and lifeless. Yimo walked in front of Luo Xian's door and subconsciously reached in with his spirit sense. It was empty indeed. Luo Xian wasn't back. Then, he went back to his place. Yimo closed the door and habitually scanned the room with his spirit sense. Luo Xian was curled up around his bed shaking like a lamb. Luo Xian, what happened to you? Yimo walked over and asked Luo Xian in surprise. Luo Xian, who usually wasn't afraid of ghosts, saw Yimo now and could no longer hold in her cries. Yimo looked at Luo Xian and saw that she was injured but not very serious. And, it was getting better. It seemed that she had eaten some pills. Stand up first and tell me what's wrong. Yimo asked again. Luo Xian sniffed for a moment and stood up and then said, I found the Ni Luo Sutra at Chun'an Uni and waited for you till 8 p.m. You still hadn't come back, so I went to the Ying Hua temple. When I arrived, there was only my second martial sister, Luo Fei there. I talked with her for a while and she said she wanted to go see if big martial sister had returned, so she went out. Yimo took out a bottle of water from his ring and gave it to Luo Xian. Luo Xian didn't notice where Yimo took it out from and just took it over and drank the water. Then, she continued, after a while, my big martial sister came. I told her I found the Ni Luo Sutra and took out the 2 parts and showed her. She was very happy and excited. I asked her if she had seen second martial sister and she said she hadn't. I thought that second martial sister just went out, how could she not see? Just when I wanted to go see, I heard this cry of pain outside. It seemed to be my second martial sister's. I rushed out quickly, but my big martial sister was faster than me. As soon as she heard the sound, she charged out. But she immediately came back inside the temple. There was blood all over her chest. In that short moment, she was ambushed. Speaking till here, Luo Xian cried again. Yimo frowned. He felt this thing was strange. If someone was really going to ambush Luo Xian, then wouldn't it be the perfect time to strike when her second martial sister had already left and her big martial sister hadn't come yet? Then, I helped my big martial sister up. I wanted to help her stop the bleeding, but she couldn't hold on. She told me to go immediately. I said second martial sister wasn't back yet. Big martial sister just told me to go, immediately. I listened to her, but when I turned around to take away the Ni Luo Sutra I put on the side, I noticed that it was gone. Luo Xian kept sniffing. Yimo patted her shoulders and said, don't worry, keep talking. Luo Xian truly felt helpless now. Usually, it was her big martial sister deciding for her, but now, she felt very lost. Yimo's comfort calmed her a lot. She nodded and continued, I was shocked to see the Ni Luo Sutra disappear, and just when I wanted to turn around, someone hid behind me, palmed my back. I spat out blood and it spilled on big martial sister's face. She suddenly woke up and yelled, pulling me to charge out from the back of Ying Hua temple. She was very fast, and I seemed to have heard a lot of noises from behind. Those people for some reason didn't keep chasing. Big martial sister took me and ran a few miles before falling unconscious to the ground. I remembered that lotus life pill you gave me and I gave it to my big martial sister. Then, I carried my big martial sister and ran in a different direction. After 7 kilometers, when I couldn't run anymore, I put my big martial sister down. Yimo nodded. Although from Luo Xian's description, her big martial sister was heavily wounded, if she ate his lotus life pill, she should be fine. So, he asked again, since you came back, where is your big martial sister? Luo Xian cried out once again. After a moment, she said, when big martial sister woke up, she said that the pill I gave her was very good. She felt a lot better and should be fine. But then, she said we should go separately. She told me to go meet her a year later at Luo Kang. In the meantime, we must not have any contacts at all, and she threw away our phones. Luo Xian cried out once again. After a moment, she said, when big martial sister woke up, she said that the pill I gave her was very good. She felt a lot better and should be fine. But then, she said we should go separately. She told me to go meet her a year later at Luo Kang. In the meantime, we must not have any contacts at all, and she threw away our phones. Yimo suddenly understood something. He looked at Luo Xian and said, "Can you show me your wound on your back?" Huh. Luo Xian stopped crying and looked at Yimo in surprise. Checking the wound on her back, didn't that mean she had to take off her top? Yimo also realized it wasn't very appropriate after saying it. He subconsciously didn't even think about this because he really didn't have any intentions for a loli like Luo Xian. Since it's inconvenient, then never mind. Yimo quickly said. Luo Xian shook her head. "There's nothing inconvenient, brother. I trust you. There must be a reason you want to see it. I'll show you." Then Luo Xian took off her top. On her smooth and silky skin, there was a red palm print. Although Yimo didn't think of anything, he still felt his face getting a little warmer when he saw Luo Xian's round breast in her bra and her slender supple waist. The faint smell of a virgin came from Luo Xian's body, making Yimo's throat dry. He quickly said, "It's done." At this moment, Luo Xian's face was also burning a little, but as soon as she put her clothes back on, Yimo asked, "What else did your big martial sister say?" Luo Xian came back to her sense and sniffed. "I said second martial sister hasn't come back. What do we do?" Big martial sister stayed silent for a long time before saying, "Second martial sister is very smart, she should be fine. She told me to leave Chun'an immediately and don't show my face, nor go look for her or try to go back to the sect. At the same time, she said not to believe anyone. She even said not to trust her." Brother, why are things like this?" Yimo had understood now. He sighed. "When you first came to Yinghua Temple and you saw your second martial sister, did you tell her that you got the Ni Luo Sutra?" Luo Xian wasn't dumb. She dazed upon Yimo's question, but soon her face went red. Brother, you're suspecting my second martial sister? She definitely isn't that sort of person. We're like sisters. I'm sure she isn't this type of person." Before she finished, Luo Xian stopped. She had understood that not only was Yimo suspecting her second martial sister, but her big martial sister was also suspecting her second martial sister. It was just that the big martial sister didn't want to accept this fact. That's why she told Luo Xian not to even trust her own words, implying that Luo Xian shouldn't trust second martial sister's words either. It was because big martial sister didn't want to accept this reality and wasn't completely certain that the second martial sister was responsible for this. Luo Xian's eyes suddenly showed extreme sadness and disappointment. She didn't want to accept the reality that her second martial sister wanted to kill her and her big martial sister. She could only murmur, "No, this isn't real." Yimo sneered, "I don't know if it's real or not. Your second martial sister went to find your big martial sister and it was just outside the Yinghua Temple. How could she disappear? And, I'm sure that your second martial sister wasn't going to find your big martial sister as soon as you came. It was after you said you found the Ni Luo Sutra, right? And, do you know what wound is on your back? It's a palm print, a woman's palm print." Luo Xian could no longer hold the melancholy in her heart, and tears dripped down. She had never thought that the sister-like second martial sister would try to kill her. Before, they were all living together. Why were things like this? Yimo didn't mind Luo Xian's state at all and continued, "It's because your big martial sister guessed this, then she told you to leave and even carried you out 7 kilometers and asked you to run away by yourself. If it wasn't that lotus life pill, your big martial sister would be dead for sure. But since big martial sister survived, why did she still leave me?" Luo Xian sniffed. She really didn't want to know these were real. It's because she was marked. If she stayed with you, you would die as well. And, if you haven't suddenly reached black level primary stage peak, then that palm would have already killed you. So, the person ambushing you knew your power and was sure that palm could kill you. But she didn't expect you reached black level and that palm actually didn't kill you. So, in this person's calculations, you and your big martial sister were both killed, but your power and lotus life pill saved your lives unexpectedly. Yimo said plainly, as though he had seen everything with his own eyes. Luo Xian was already very smart, and after Yimo's reminder, she put together all the things. Things were indeed as Yimo said. She was dumbfounded, but she soon worriedly grabbed Yimo's arm. Yi brother, quickly save my big martial sister. I know you're strong. She has been marked. What do we do? Yimo smiled. Luo Xian, don't worry. The reason your big sister was marked was because she knew the person who ambushed her had poison on the sword. That person could track your big martial sister by the poison. However, he didn't expect that my lotus life pill can erase any poison in a very short time. So, you don't need to worry about her. Your second martial sister won't be able to find her. Luo Xian's hanging heart finally fell, but thinking about second martial sister's ruthlessness, she couldn't help to cry again. You don't need to cry. Your second martial sister won't be able to find you and your big martial sister's bodies, then they will look around everywhere for you too. You should think about how to escape from your second martial sister's hunt. Yimo glanced at Luo Xian and said, You actually dare to come back here. I'm sure that your second martial sister will be able to find here soon. Luo Xian rubbed her eyes. I don't dare to go back to school, and if I leave Chun'an, I don't know anyone. I only know you and Zi Yun. Zi Yun is an ordinary person. I don't want to harm her, so I could only come back and wait for you here. I was thinking if you don't come back, I would go to Flowing Snake to find Shu brother. I have nowhere to go. Yimo suddenly thought, it wasn't right. If Luo Xian's second sister was coming for Luo Xian, then should have found this place ages ago. Did something happen in between? He looked at Luo Xian and said, Since you came back, why don't you go back to your own room? Why are you in my place? Luo Xian opened her mouth and hesitated for a long time before saying, That elevator is going up automatically. I don't dare to stay in my room, so I hid next to your bed waiting for you to come back. Then, Luo Xian looked worriedly at Yimo and found that Yimo didn't blame her. She relaxed a little and immediately flipped open the quilt on Yimo's bed. Soon, she pulled out a yellow paper from under the quilt and gave it to Yimo. This is the paper I took from the upper half of the Ni Luo Sutra, here. Yimo took the paper in joy. He didn't expect Luo Xian to take the thing out first and hid it under his quilt. He immediately burned the yellow cover showing a golden paper. Yimo stared at this paper for a long time before saying to Luo Xian, Thank you very much, Luo Xian. Seeing Yimo being so delighted, Luo Xian finally showed a little smile. She felt that was the most correct thing she did. The first thing she did after getting the Ni Luo Sutra was to put this paper in Yimo's room and then go see her two martial sisters. You saved my big martial sister, and this is something I should do. Luo Xian said. Yimo checked this golden paper repeatedly and then took out a cloth, wrapping it carefully and putting it back in his ring. Then, he said, Not bad, you helped me out a lot this time. Okay, since you have nowhere to go, then follow me for now. After I'm done with my things, I'll send you back to your sect. But if they really did it, wouldn't they be waiting for us on the way? Big martial sister told me not to go back no matter what. And, Luo Xian said hesitantly. Yimo laughed pridefully. They can stop other people, but no one can stop where I, Yimo, want to go. After I'm finished with the thing here tonight, come with me to Qiyang Mountain tomorrow and then I'll send you back. Luo Xian shook her head and said, I don't want to. Even if you can send me back, I still need to find my big martial sister, otherwise, I can't rest easy. And, why are you going to Qiyang Mountain? Of course, to annihilate the He Liu sect. What? If you're scared, wait for me here. Yimo said with a smile. He knew that Luo Xian wouldn't dare to wait for him here by himself. As expected, Luo Xian said, I'm not staying here, I'll go with you. I'm also black level now, perhaps I can help you a little. Okay, in that case, let's go upstairs first. Yimo nodded and said, Why are we going up there? Luo Xian immediately looked vigilant. Yimo smiled plainly and said, Of course we're going to annihilate the ghost. Luo Xian hesitated for a moment before saying, But that ghost is too strong. My master said I have spirit eyes, but even I can't see it and was hurt by it. I think, we shouldn't go up. Luo Xian hesitated for a moment before saying, But that ghost is too strong. My master said I have spirit eyes, but even I can't see it and was hurt by it. I think, We shouldn't go up. Emo smiled. Okay, then wait for me here. I'll go up and capture it, then come down. I think I should go up with you. One extra person, one extra share of power. Luo Xian immediately changed her words. If Emo wasn't coming back, she really didn't want to stay here. She wasn't afraid of ghosts, but it was another thing when she couldn't even see the ghost. And that ghost didn't even seem to be scared of the peachwood sword. Don't worry. I have a good idea of what it is. I'm just going to confirm. If I'm right, that ghost had left. I'm just going to see again in the elevator. Emo smiled and comforted Luo Xian. He really did guess what that thing was. After seeing Nai Shuangshuang's letter, Emo guessed that thing might be the pet she had before, Luan Luan. Because Luan Luan could camouflage, she changed into the same color as the elevator and stuck to one corner of it. People wouldn't be able to notice it at all. After he saw Nai Shuangshuang's letter, he thought of this Luan Luan. And, when he checked the elevator before, there was one part of it that did seem to protrude, but he didn't take note of it. Now that he thought of it, it was probably that thing. Now, he was just going to confirm it. As for why Luan Luan would come here, Emo guessed that it was probably related to the red-robed woman he killed. After Luan Luan escaped, it needed to devour spirits. Since the red-robed woman was here, the Yin Kai here was very strong and attracted Luan Luan. Perhaps that red-robed woman wanted to capture it. Of course, it might be the other way around. After Luan Luan came, the red-robed woman was attracted by it. Brother, do you really know what it is? Is it not a ghost? Luo Xian asked in surprise. No, this thing is much scarier than ghosts. Emo nodded. The elevator stopped on the 8th floor and Emo and Luo Xian went in. Emo pressed the button for the 12th floor and kept an eye on the surrounding walls. As expected, he noticed some faint Yin Kai next to the buttons. Emo knew this was where the thing attached to, and because it hadn't left too long ago, there were still Yin Kai attached to it. Did you find it? When Luo Xian asked, the elevator had stopped at the 12th floor. Obviously, she was very anxious and didn't even notice that she was grabbing onto Emo's sleeve. Emo stepped out of the elevator and said, yes, I found it, but it probably have left. It's a very vicious thing. It feasts on bleak and evil Kai and it's murderous. Originally, there were ghosts here, but after I killed them, it couldn't stay and left. Luo Xian seemed to have understood something and asked, you killed them? I was pushed out by a very strong ghost that day on the 9th floor. Did you kill that? No wonder I didn't see it again when I went up again. Emo jumped onto the top of the building and once again felt the light breathe. He exclaimed. He had only been here a bit more than a year, but during this time, too much had happened. Luo Xian also followed up to the top and relaxed down. She saw Emo standing there in silence and walked by his side and asked, brother, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking. Emo hesitated before saying, Luo Xian, if one day you really like a man, would you forget about him if you lost your memory? Luo Xian felt caught off guard. She blushed and immediately said, brother, what are you saying? I'm a Dao cultivator. Why would I suddenly like a man? Emo nodded subconsciously, that's right. You're a Dao cultivator. My question was too abrupt. Emo looked into the distant stars and lights and was lost in thought. Luo Xian looked at Emo's despaired face and dazed eyes and didn't talk. She just stood at the top of the building with Emo looking out into the distant lights. After a long while, she found that Emo was still in that position and asked worriedly, brother, did you lose your love? I don't really understand these things, but I've been in the uni for 2 years. I've seen quite some students who have lost their love. They seemed really sad, a bit like you. Lost love? Emo murmured. Did he? Then, he shook his head, I don't know. Emo suddenly thought of something and looked at Luo Xian and asked, by the way, you said you're a Dao cultivator. What sect are you from? Luo Xian hesitated for a brief moment but didn't hide it. My sect is called Ci Hang Jing Monastery. It's a very ancient sect in China. Ci Hang Jing Monastery? Why does it seem familiar? Emo repeated and immediately remembered that at that social night, he saw a stall called Ci Hang Jing Monastery. He didn't know if the two were connected. But Luo Xian said slowly, if you have heard this name, it's very normal because long ago, the Ci Hangjing monastery was outside and wasn't in the small world. Sects going into the small world were only in the recent few centuries. I don't know the specifics too well, but that Ni Luo Sutra is a very important book our sect left outside. Yimo nodded and fell silent. He didn't ask more. He didn't care about that too much. He believed that although there were things in this world that could threaten him, there wasn't much. Seeing Yimo falling into silence again, Luo Xian asked, Yi brother, I know you're a great person. What is your dream? Dream? Yimo frowned. His dream was of course to reach long life with Luo Ying and stay together forever or even ascend to an immortal, but now, he knew that was an absurd dream. Although he had started his company and was prepared to use that to gather wealth for him and Luo Ying to cultivate, he knew that he would be hugely lucky if he even reached foundation establishment. What about Luo Ying and Qingxue? If he didn't meet Qingxue or have that much connections, then he wouldn't care. But now, even if he found Luo Ying and stayed with her, could he really let Qingxue go in his heart? It was this hard for him. Perhaps, his mind state still needed ascension. After long, Yimo sighed, my dream is very hard to realize. Luo Xian looked sympathetically at Yimo. Although she didn't know what Yimo's dream was, but it must be related to the girl that lost her memory he mentioned before. She sighed, Yi brother, sometimes we don't need to think too much. Before, I was cultivating in my sect. I was very innocent, but coming out to this world, I realized there were so many unfathomable things outside. I think that if we were still in our sect, my second martial sister wouldn't do such thing for sure. She was tricked. She was tricked for sure. Talking about her second sister, Luo Xian's mood fell despondent again. Yimo smiled, if your second sister is really as what you think she is, then, she wouldn't be tricked. Never mind, you should stop thinking about your second martial sister. You still haven't said what your dream is. Luo Xian said slowly, before, my dream was to cultivate diligently and reach the highest, great heaven state. That day when I stood at the top of this building, I suddenly thought, if only I could fly one day. Perhaps that is my dream. I think my dream would never be realized because I know that's impossible. So, Yi brother, dream and reality are two different things. Even if it can't be realized, it's good to think about it frequently, just like me now. I'm standing here imagining that I'm flying and I feel a lot better. Yimo shook his head, Luo Xian, perhaps your dream can be realized but my dream can be never realized. Are you talking about taking the plane? I've taken it before but it feels no different to riding a car. I don't like that way of flying. Luo Xian shook her head. Let's stop talking about these. I'm going to Qiyang Mountain. Come with me. Yimo cast aside those thoughts and said, of course, from now on, wherever Yi brother goes, I will follow. Luo Xian said without hesitation. Her big martial sister wasn't here and she couldn't live here by herself. Yimo shook his head however and didn't talk. What's wrong, Yi brother? Luo Xian immediately asked. Yimo smiled and said, I'll say something but don't reply casually. If I jump off the building, will you jump off with me? So. Of course. If Yi brother is going to jump off the building, I will jump off with you. But I know, Yi brother you won't. Before Luo Xian finished, Yimo had already jumped off. Luo Xian's mind went blank. She didn't expect Yimo would really jump off. She thought Yimo was joking. Why is it like this? Luo Xian's mind went blank. There was only one sentence in her mind, don't reply casually. If I jump off the building, will you jump with me? Why is it like this? Luo Xian's mind went blank. There was only one sentence in her mind, don't reply casually. If I jump off the building, will you jump with me? Yi brother jumped off because he lost his love, but I promised him that I would do whatever he did. The thoughts flashed across her mind like lightning while Yimo fell down like a comet. In Luo Xian's eyes, the only one she could rely on now was Yi brother, but Yi brother actually jumped off the building. Her mind got blank. She suddenly thought, did Yi brother jump off because that woman promised him something but dumped him in the end? But I also promised him as well. The word promised kept ringing her mind. Was he going to be cheated again? At that instant, she didn't want to think about it anymore. She just closed her eyes and jumped off like that. The fresh wind brushed past her and she actually felt some sense of satisfaction. Although it was a very short time, she finally realized her dream before her death. She managed to fly for a brief moment. In that instant, she actually felt tranquility and didn't have fear in her heart. She didn't want to think about anything in that moment, whether it was Yi Mo or her sect or her two martial sisters. No wonder Yi brother said, "Perhaps my dream could be realized." Although it was a very short time, but it was realized indeed. But what was Yi brother's dream? Luo Xian suddenly felt strange. She should have fallen on the ground long ago. Why was she still not on the ground? She opened her eyes and yelled out in surprise, "Yi brother, did we all die? How come I don't feel the pain of falling on the ground?" Then, she subconsciously looked down and realized that she was getting higher and higher, not falling lower. What was this? Yi Mo stood in front of Luo Xian with his hands behind his back and said with a lonely tone, "Luo Xian, thanks for jumping off with me. Let me help you realize your dream. Now, you can fly in the skies." Luo Xian dazed for a really long time before reacting. She looked at the endless sky underneath. It was like a dream. She looked at Yi Mo and asked, "Yi brother, are we really flying in the sky?" Yi Mo smiled plainly, "Yes, we are flying now." "Yi brother, are you an immortal?" Luo Xian dazed and asked with more shock. She had long known Yi Mo wasn't ordinary but had never expected him to be this extraordinary. Yi Mo shook his head. His expression grew sadder. Immortal was his goal, but he and this goal were tens of galaxies apart. He might even never accomplish this goal. He knew he wasn't an immortal. Yi Mo didn't reply and Luo Xian didn't ask. She looked carefully at where she stood and realized it was on the body of a huge sword. Where did this huge flying sword come from? She had never seen such a huge sword by Yi Mo. After the initial shock, she finally calmed down. Although she had too much questions, she knew these things weren't something she could understand. If Yi Mo didn't say, she wouldn't ask. She stood by Yi Mo and felt this peaceful night sky and the broad view. Light wind brushed past and Luo Xian had this indescribable excitement and aspiration. After long, when Yi Mo felt his spirit Kai depleting, he went back on top of the building again. Luo Xian stood on the top of the building. She didn't have any questions nor ask where Yi Mo's flying sword went. She just looked at Yi Mo and said, "Yi brother, thank you. You fulfilled my dream. Although it was just one night, I'm satisfied." Yi Mo smiled, "It's fine. I just happened to be able to do it and you happened to be willing to believe me." Luo Xian's mind seemed to have suddenly matured a lot. For ordinary people, the hidden sect's people were the apex and mystical beings, but to her, Yi Mo was also the apex and mystical being. She heard Yi Mo's words and smiled peacefully. "I just don't want Yi brother to be disappointed again, or perhaps I didn't think too much at the time and was just a sudden decision. If I had to do it again, perhaps I wouldn't dare to jump." Yi Mo looked gratefully at Luo Xian and didn't speak. Ning Qingshue's attitude after she lost her memory dealt him a heavy blow. It was something he couldn't let go and now, it suddenly got a lot better. "Don't tell anyone about me." After a moment, Yi Mo said. Luo Xian nodded. Even if Yi Mo didn't tell her, she wouldn't tell anyone. Tonight's event was too shocking. If this spread out especially to the hidden sects, who knows how great rupture it can cause. "Let's go. Let's go downstairs. Those people probably wouldn't be coming tonight." Yi Mo turned back and smiled to Luo Xian. Luo Xian dazed. She understood now that other than coming up to catch the ghost, he also wanted to wait for her second martial sister to come. "You state." Ning Qingxue felt the necklace on her chest and her expression was lost. Ever since that day Yi Mo left spitting blood, she started feeling this heartache and wearing this necklace could ease that pain. But no matter how hard she thought, she couldn't remember where she bought this necklace. And that pill Yi Mo brought last time, ever since she ate it, not only did her skin get a lot better, she also had this immortal vibe to her. It was as though she was going to ride the wind and fly. Although Li Mumei asked a few times what was going on, Ning Qingxue wasn't willing to believe it was due to Yi Mo's pill. How could she have any associations with Yi Mo? What sort of a person was Yi Mo? Although Ning Qingxue wasn't too clear, she could understand through what others thought of him, and she also knew that the marriage between them was due to family issues. But ever since Yi Mo was cast out by the Yi family, the Ning family had never mentioned the marriage between her and Yi Mo. Did something really happen in this year? Ning Qingxue frowned and sat there dazedly for a long time until Li Mumei came in. Qingxue, let's go out for a walk. It's not good to stay inside all the time. Li Mumei said worriedly to Ning Qingxue. Ning Qingxue shook her head and said, Mumei, I really don't believe that there's any connections between me and Yi Mo, but why did he come to you state? Li Mumei's face seemed morose. She didn't want to explain anything to Ning Qingxue. Some things, it was better to stay forgotten for Ning Qingxue. Her mother was right. Since Ning Qingxue stayed with Yi Mo, she was heavily injured twice. And, Li Mumei also knew that Ning Qingxue probably went to Flowing Snake alone once. Although she didn't know exactly what happened, she knew it wasn't simple. Seeing that Li Mumei didn't talk, Ning Qingxue sighed. Is there really something I don't know? Li Mumei sat down. Qingxue, don't think too much. In the past year, you've seen Yi Mo a few times. I think he probably fell in love with you. Ning Qingxue nodded. She knew about herself. She knew that she was too pretty and was getting even prettier recently, but she really didn't care about that. What she cared about was accomplishing a successful career. Since her parents already left the Beijing Ning family, she needed to do something for the family. That was her goal. It was very normal for Yi Mo to fall in love with her, but it was impossible the other way around. Seeing that Ning Qingxue seemed to have agreed with her words, Li Mumei felt relieved. Okay, Qingxue, I'll take you to see some old friends in Beijing. It's not good to always stay here by yourself in Yu State. Ning Qingxue shook her head. Mumei, I don't really want to go to Beijing. I don't like that place. Mumei, do you know where this necklace came from? It's really good. I can feel it curing my heartache. Li Mumei looked worriedly at Ning Qingxue's necklace. Although she didn't know where it came from, she was certain it had something to do with Yi Mo. I'm not too sure. I think you probably bought it in Beijing. But this necklace looks really good. If you remember where you bought it, even I want to go buy one. It seems to be made from warm jade. It's really pretty. Li Mumei liked this necklace even though she knew it was related to Yi Mo. Ning Qingxue put the necklace down and said after a while, Mumei, I've searched for some cases of memory loss on the internet. If it's a really soul-etched memory, then even if you lose it, you will have some impression, but I have no impression for Yi Mo at all. This means that although there is him in my lost memory, it's not very important. So, I don't really mind if I can recover this memory or not. You don't need to worry. Ning Qingxue saw the worry in Li Mumei's eyes and comforted her. Li Mumei thought and agreed. If Qingxue was really deeply in love with Yi Mo, then how can she have no impression at all? Perhaps Qingxue was right. Was she tricked by Yi Mo's sweet words during the days she stayed with him? Thinking about this, Li Mumei wished she could tell Qingxue's mum immediately. Maybe they thought wrong from the beginning. Li Mumei suddenly thought of something and asked Ning Qingxue excitedly, Qingxue, do you know the Juyun Temple? Ning Qingxue shook her head and said, I don't know Juyun Temple. What about it? Ning Qingxue shook her head and said, I don't know Juyun Temple. What about it? Li Mumei said mysteriously. However, in Luokang, they built a new temple called the Juyun Temple. It has the two mottos on the door: lost in the deep clouds, awaken at this temple. It means that if you have any questions you are confused about, you can burn some incense and worship the Buddha in this temple. I heard it's very real and is very popular online. I heard that the lead monk of this temple is called Wu Ming. He's a very capable monk. How about we go to this temple and burn some incense? Just think of it as a holiday trip. Ning Qingxue asked confusedly, a newly built temple is very popular? Would it be some intentional spin on the internet? Li Mumei shook her head and said, that I don't know, but I heard that an old monk in the temple said he attained Dao in Luokang, so he built the temple in Luokang. Ning Qingxue said nonchalantly, in that case, let's go see it. IVT's very close to Yu State. Luokang. Compared to a year ago, this place seemed a lot more populous. Many people said it was due to the Juyun Temple. Ever since the Juyun Temple was built here a few months ago, the tourists here increased drastically. When Ning Qingshu and Li Mumei came here, they found it to be very busy indeed. It wasn't any inferior than Yu State, which was a big city. Juyun Temple was indeed very popular and they had to line up to burn incense. Although it had only been built for half a year, a long street of incense and offering shops had been set up. It was very busy and most tourists would come here to burn incense and then go into the temple and ask about their troubles or make a wish. Before they left, they would buy a few artifacts from here for good fortune. After the two had requested to burn incense, the line had reached all the way to outside the temple. In this era, there was actually no one cutting in line. They all had a pious look on their face. Was it really that powerful here? Ning Qingshu looked at this long line of people and felt dubious. An old man with a broom stopped by the two suddenly. Ning Qingshu looked at the old man in surprise. He was in his 70s but looked very strong. He glanced at Ning Qingshu once and closed his eyes. There seemed to be a lot of monks in this temple, but there really weren't many holding a broom like this 70-year-old monk. Just when Ning Qingshu and Li Mumei didn't know what this old monk was doing, this old monk suddenly opened his eyes and said, "I am Wu Guang, you two honor patrons need not to line up. You can come in and make offerings with me." Li Mumei looked vigilantly at the old monk. Other people had to line up to burn incense. Why did they not have to line up? Qingshu looked so out of this world. Was this old monk scheming something? The old monk didn't seem to notice Li Mumei's eyes and just turned to leave after finishing. Ning Qingshu pulled Li Mumei, "Let's go have a look. If we line up, we are going to wait for more than an hour." Li Mumei looked at the long line. They might not get to the front even in more than an hour. There were just too many people. Plus, this monk was so old that he couldn't have any bad intentions, right? The old monk took the two to the last Zen room. There was a Pu Sa painting in the room. The two couldn't recognize which Pu Sa it was. "Master Wu Guang, didn't you say you were going to take us into burning offerings? Why did you bring us here?" Li Mumei was getting more vigilant. Wu Guang monk put the broom down and said Arya Mai to Orfur. Then, he said to Ning Qingshu, "Patron, you have fortune with a master who enlightened me, so I wish to help you resolve your problems, but before that, I need to see the necklace artifact on you." Ning Qingshu grabbed the necklace and said, "Master Wu Guang, are you talking about this?" "Ami to Orfu." Wu Guang monk continued, "Patron, you need not to take it down. I've confirmed it. Okay, you may talk about what confusions you have." Ning Qingshu looked at the Wu Guang monk in surprise. How did he know that it was she who needed help and they weren't just here to burn offerings? Li Mumei could also see that this old monk really seemed to know something. Before Ning Qingshu spoke, she intervened. A few months ago, Qingshu was unconscious due to an accident, and when she woke up, she lost a years of memory, but everything of her was normal according to the hospital diagnosis. "We wish to ask Master Wu Guang, can that memory be recovered?" Ning Qingshu immediately supplemented, "Yeah, I've searched some cases about lost memory. Most of them remember fragments, but how come I remember nothing?" And Wu Guang monk sat on a cushion but didn't reply after hearing the two's words. Instead, he said, "Patron, can you please tell me where you got this necklace?" Ning Qingshu frowned, "I don't remember where I got this necklace. If I do, I don't need to ask you. Have you cultivated ancient marital arts?" Wu Guang asked, but then he shook his head. Even if she did, what could she have accomplished being so young? Looking at Wu Guang shaking his head after asking her that question, Ning Qingshu asked curiously, "Master Wu Guang, I haven't cultivated ancient martial arts, but what has my memory got to do with cultivating ancient martial arts?" Wu Guang nodded and said, "Patron, you don't know. After people lose memory due to outside force, they indeed do retain fragments. Especially the things you have a deep impression of, these memories will return with time. But this is definite, there are some memories that cannot be recovered and will not retain any fragments." Ning Qingshu said confusedly, "But I didn't feel anything at all. If the people around me didn't tell that I lost memories, I wouldn't even know." And, I've seen many Western doctors and specialists say that even if you can't remember it yourself, with people constantly reminding you about things you have a deep impression of, you will still feel familiar about it. There shouldn't be no impression at all. Ami to Orfur. The monk called out again and then said seriously, you encountered a strong force that caused chaos in your spirit. I shouldn't tell you this, but because you have a necklace made by a Qian Bei himself on you, and it's 10 times better than the best I have seen. What? Master Wu Guang, you say that this necklace is made by a Qian Bei of yours? Who is that Qian Bei? Ning Qingxue asked in shock. She saw that Wu Guang was already in his 70 foot, wouldn't this Qian Bei be 100? Wu Guang didn't answer Ning Qingshue's question, however. He just continued, when one cultivates ancient martial arts to a certain degree, you can attain inner qi, and when you reach a rather high state with the threat of death, you will subconsciously use inner qi to envelope the most precious part of your soul and your most precious memories. These memories will show up in your next life. Although you can't remember it completely, you will have some vague impressions. Of course, the pretense is that no one intervenes. But if you didn't die and woke up instead, then this enveloped memory wouldn't be remembered. It may even disappear slowly, just like what is happening to you. Ning Qingxue dazed for some time before asking cluelessly, but I've never learned any ancient martial arts. I don't even know what inner qi is. How can it envelope my soul and memory? Wu Guang nodded, Ami to Orfur, even if you cultivate ancient martial arts to a very high state, you wouldn't be able to do such thing, much less patron don't even know ancient martial arts. I've only heard that this action not only has requirements for power but also strict requirements for cultivation method. I also thought that a cultivation method capable of enveloping memories into reincarnation does not exist, but your situation is very similar to this case. Then Master Wu Guang, if that's the case, how do I recover my memory? Although Ning Qingxue knew that this wasn't the case for her, she still couldn't help asking. Wu Guang said, unless you cultivate this way again and reach at least the power state of the moment before you lost your memories. Then, your memories will recover automatically and your power will double up. But, you may still remember nothing, but... Wu Guang hesitated for a long time but eventually didn't continue. He said, 2 patrons please, I will be doing work now. Then, he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Ning Qingxue and Li Mumei looked at each other dubiously and then bowed before exiting. After the two came out, they were still confused. What this old monk said seemed to be too metaphysical. Luo Xian looked at this haunted building she had been living in for a week and actually felt a little wistful about leaving. Although it was a short week, she had experienced a lot. It seemed that in the 2 years living at Chun'an, it wasn't as eventful as this week. Luo Xian looked at this haunted building she had been living in for a week and actually felt a little wistful about leaving. Although it was a short week, she had experienced a lot. It seemed that in the 2 years living at Chun'an, it wasn't as eventful as this week. What are you thinking? Let's go. Yimo broke her thoughts. Luo Xian came back to her senses and nodded, okay, let's go. Luo Xian, do you know where Qiyang Mountain is located? Although Yimo didn't know where Qiyang Mountain was, he believed that too many people would know and he only needed to ask. It was just like how he didn't know where Shenong Jiao was, but he could find out by searching online. Luo Xian shook her head and looked at Yimo strangely. I don't know you, brother. Do you not even know where you are going? I've been in Chun'an for 2 years. Although I don't really go out, I heard most of the famous mountains in China. I've really never heard of Qiyang Mountain. I thought it was a place I haven't been. Yimo thought, was he tricked by Hong Sai? But Hong Sai's tone and attitude couldn't be lying too at the time. Because he was talking with this sister at the time, he actually didn't ask where the Qiyang Mountain was. It doesn't matter. I'll ask someone later and we'll know. Since it can have a hidden sect there, it must be a famous mountain. People would know. But then, Yimo and Luo Xian asked many people and even searched on the web, but no one knew Qiyang Mountain. Luo Xian also asked in confusion, Yi brother, could that person have lied to you? Yimo also said uncertainly, I don't think that person would trick me, but from what we've asked there really doesn't seem to have a Qiyang Mountain. This is strange indeed. If he was really desperate, He could go to Beijing and ask Tan Jiao and Luan Qingfeng, but he didn't want to do that. First, the two might not be willing to tell, and Yi Mo didn't want to see that arrogant Tan Jiao again. Even if he didn't ask those two, Zhong Zhuhui would probably know about it. He can go ask Zhong Zhuhui. Yi brother, where are you planning to go now? Luo Xian looked at Yi Mo's face and knew they wouldn't be able to go to Qiyang Mountain. I want to go Ninghai first and ask someone I know about where it is. Yi Mo was unhappy that his plan was stopped. From his perspective, Hong Sai even shattered his own dantian. How could he lie to him on this? If it was just by himself, Yi Mo would definitely step on the flying sword to Ninghai, but with Luo Xian now, that would cause too much attention during the day. And, with his current Kai reserve, it would be very exhaustful to bring Luo Xian with him to Ninghai. Although she knew Yi Mo could fly, Luo Xian didn't ask why Yi Mo was taking the plane to Ninghai. Since Yi Mo chose that, he must have his reasons. Although Chun'an Airport was very small, there was a lot of human traffic. When Yi Mo and Luo Xian walked into the airport, it wasn't empty at all despite it being the morning. Yi brother, what are you looking at? Luo Xian followed Yi Mo closely and noticed that Yi Mo had his attention on this middle-aged woman reading newspaper as soon as he came in. Yi Mo smiled. Luo Xian, did you see that woman next to the window reading the newspaper? Luo Xian nodded. I see her. What's wrong, Yi brother? Do you feel that person is familiar? Yi Mo continued to ask. Luo Xian shook her head in bewilderment. I've never seen this person and I don't feel her to be familiar at all. But even so, Luo Xian still studied that woman carefully and was sure she didn't seem familiar. I'm sure you know her. That person is either your big martial sister or your second martial sister because she is masqueraded. Yi Mo said with certainty. It was because he felt a similar Kai from this woman as he did with Luo Xian. This meant that their cultivation method was the same. Luo Xian also showed an expression of shock, but before she could talk, that middle-aged woman turned around. It seemed she noticed that Luo Xian was observing her. The moment she saw Luo Xian, she showed surprise and joy in her eyes, but it soon turned to worry. Although those eye expressions were very subtle, it fell clearly into Yi Mo's eyes and he was more certain that this woman was related to Luo Xian. But as soon as this woman saw Luo Xian, she actually turned to leave. Luo Xian quickly followed without talking to Yi Mo. She was sure that this person was her big martial sister Luo Yin. Yi Mo didn't follow. He looked around and sure no one was stalking them before standing at the side waiting for Luo Xian. He was sure that woman was Luo Xian's big martial sister and Luo Xian recognized her. If it was her second martial sister, Luo Xian will hesitate first and even ask him before going over. That woman came to a quiet corner and looked around waiting for Luo Xian to come over. She pulled Luo Xian over anxiously and asked, Luo Xian, how can you appear at the airport without any masquerade? Do you not want to live? Big martial sister, is that really you? Luo Xian exclaimed in joy and hugged this woman. Although she didn't say it, she had always been worried for her big martial sister. Now that she saw her, of course she was very elated. Luo Yin also felt relived. She had been constantly worried for Luo Xian and now felt a lot more relived seeing her. But immediately, she asked, Luo Xian, who is that man next to you? You must not be like Luo Fei. If master knew that 2 out the 3 of us who came out lost our virginity, she will be very sad. Luo Xian's face blushed and immediately said, Big martial sister, what are you saying? Yi brother isn't like the sort of person you're thinking about. He's very nice. And, he saved me many times. Even that lotus life pill I gave you last time was from him. Who is he? How does he have such precious pills? And why would he save you? A man being nice to a woman is definitely no good. Luo Xian, you must not trust a man. Luo Yin said vigilantly. Big martial sister, sigh, even that Ni Luo Sutra was found with the help of Yi brother. How can you say that about him? Although I don't know if men are good or bad, but Yi brother is definitely a good person. Luo Xian immediately rebuked. Luo Yin looked at Luo Xian in shock and said after a moment, Luo Xian, you have never rebutted my words before, but now for that Yi brother of yours, you have done so twice. Is that Yi brother really that good? Luo Xian rubbed the edges of her clothes awkwardly and said, Big Marshal sister, I really don't know how to explain it to you, but I believe him. He's not a bad person, and it was ye brother who recognized you just then. What? It wasn't you who recognized me. He has such capabilities. Has he seen me before? Luo Yin immediately became more vigilant. Then, as though she suddenly thought of something, Luo Yin said worriedly, Luo Xian, you said that ye brother helped you find the Ni Luo Sutra and he recognized me. Then could it be him that night outside the Yinghua temple? Luo Xian, you're too young. Don't believe strangers' words. As she spoke, Luo Yin's face became more and more serious. The more she thought, the more she believed that perhaps the Yi guy followed Luo Xian to the Yinghua temple and then imposted as Luo Fei, stealing the Ni Luo Sutra, and then found Luo Xian later. Big Marshal sister, don't think like that. Yi brother isn't like that. Plus, even 1,000 Ni Luo Sutra wouldn't be worth anything in ye brother's eyes, much less one. Big Marital sister, please, I beg you stop saying bad things about ye brother. He's a really good person. He's the best man I've ever met. In desperation, Luo Xian actually used the word man, but as soon as she said it, she noticed it and her face blushed. Luo Xian didn't want there to be any misunderstanding between her Big Marshal sister and Yi Mo from the bottom of her heart. Big Marshal sister was the person she respected the most other than her master, while Yi brother was the person he admired the most. He saved her many times and was that nice to her. Plus, that Ni Luo pill wasn't worth anything to Yi brother. He could give the Kai increasing pill that was countless times more precious. Why would he care about a mere Ni Luo Sutra? Plus, Yi brother said the Ni Luo Sutra was useless to him, and the only valuable thing was the 2 golden paper, and she gave them to him. How could he still be interested in the Ni Luo Sutra? However, she could tell her Big Marshal sister that. The made Luo Xian feel guilty for the first time because she hid something for her Big Marshal sister for Yi Mo. Sigh. Luo Yin sighed but didn't see anything. She could tell that this little martial sister of hers is admiring Yi brother to the bones. It was useless no matter what she said. It was just that from the bottom of her heart she wanted the person who tried to kill them to be someone else, even that Yi brother rather than Luo Lin. How you always been with Yi brother these few days? Luo Yin asked casually. She could tell that her martial sister was still a virgin. This meant that they didn't do something over the line. Luo Xian thought that she did stay in the same room with Yi Mo last night, and now that her martial sister asked, she felt embarrassed. Her face was even burning a little. Originally, she thought it was fine and Yi Mo didn't say anything, but now that her martial sister asked, she felt perhaps it wasn't so appropriate. Luo Xian thought that she did stay in the same room with Yi Mo last night, and now that her martial sister asked, she felt embarrassed. Her face was even burning a little. Originally, she thought it was fine and Yi Mo didn't say anything, but now that her martial sister asked, she felt perhaps it wasn't so appropriate. Luo Yin could tell that if she didn't meet Luo Xian in time, it would only be a few days before Luo Xian also lost her virginity. Although she didn't like Yi Mo, she had to commend on Yi Mo's means. How long has it been, and even Luo Xian was so admiring of him. She was sure that Luo Xian met Yi Mo after moving into the new place. Looking at her martial sister's face, Luo Xian knew she misunderstood her again, so she could only say, "Big martial sister, we'll talk about this later. Yi brother is still waiting for me over there. Let's go over first. Luo Xian, tell me, if you didn't meet me, where were you going?" Luo Yin asked seriously. Luo Xian peeked at her martial sister's face and said without much confidence, "Originally, Yi brother was going to Ninghai and I was going with him, then. She thought about it for a long time and eventually didn't say that she was going with Yi Mo to the He Liu sect to kill people. If she said this, perhaps her martial sister would rage immediately. Okay, now you don't need to go anywhere since we met up. Come back with me immediately," Luo Yin said decisively. But. Luo Xian hesitated before looking back at Yi Mo and then said, "But martial sister, I've already promised Yi brother I'll be going with him." Luo Yin immediately interrupted Luo Xian's words. "No, Luo Xian, you must come back with me. So many things happened this time, and Luo Lin is already with that Qi Yulin. If something happens to you again, what would master do?" Luo Xian said pitifully. Big martial sister, Yi brother was tricked before and he lost his love. If I go back on what I promised him, he would be tricked again. So, you're still denying that you're not in a relationship with him. What's his losing love got to do with you? You need to comfort him. As time goes on, you can replace that woman who tricked him, right? No more so's, we must go back. This isn't just about you and him, it's also about the Ni Luo Sutra. Do you know how important the Ni Luo Sutra is to our sect? Now that we found the book, we must get news back immediately to prevent more people outside from knowing. Luo Yin said seriously. Big martial sister, are you preparing to go back now? Luo Xian didn't dare to say much after her big martial sister mentioned the sect. Seeing Luo Yin nodded, Luo Xian fell into silence. After a while, she said while looking at the ground, then big martial sister, I'll give you brother a notice. Go quickly. I'll go buy the plane ticket. Then, Luo Yin also headed towards the ticket window. Yi Mo saw the two discuss for nearly half an hour before Luo Xian came back. He could guess some of the things that was about to happen. Yi brother. Luo Xian came over and said with difficulty. She didn't know how to break it to Yi Mo. She said that she would follow where Yi Mo went, but now, she was going to go back on her words. Yi Mo immediately understood what was going on and smiled. Is your big martial sister telling you to go back? But I already promised Yi brother to go with you to the He Liu sect. Luo Xian said guiltily. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, then go back quickly. You know about my power, so if fate brings us together again, we'll meet in the future. But, Luo Xian said a few buts. She really wanted to stay with Yi Mo and go around. If she goes back, she wouldn't be able to come out again. And, she felt very comfortable staying with Yi Mo and everything she wanted to was successful. She had been looking for the Ni Luo Sutra for 2 years and as soon as Yi Mo came, he helped her solve the problem. Yi Mo felt the dependence Luo Xian had for him. He thought about Yi Ling and Tang Beiwei and subconsciously rubbed Luo Xian's head. Luo Xian's face blushed. She didn't expect Yi Mo to do this, but she didn't move. She actually quite liked it. No buts. Go back with your big martial sister. She's right. The Ni Luo Sutra is very important to your sect, go back and cultivate. Yi Mo also quite liked this smart yet very innocent Luo Xian. He thought of when she nervously went to the 9th floor to catch the ghost and when her face when she gave him the chi recovery pill with worry. She even promised him and closed her eyes and jumped off the building. Thinking about all that, Yi Mo actually felt a little disappointed she was leaving. Yi brother, will I be able to see you again? Luo Xian saw Yi Mo's expression and suddenly remembered Yi Mo's lonely face last night and felt guilty. She was almost about to say, I can stay back with you. Although she knew that after this departure, she would never be able to see him again. She still couldn't resist asking the question. Yi Mo came to his sense and his face returned to normal. He took out the last Kai increasing pill and 10s of fireball charms and gave it to Luo Xian. These things don't have much use to me, you can keep that to reach earth level. And these charms, I made them. You can throw them at your opponents, you only need to say the word Lin. Luo Xian took the things Yi Mo gave him and said helplessly, Yi brother, I can't take this pill. It's too precious. Take it. If I need it I can make it any time. As for whether or not we can see each other again, that's not important, after I'm done with my things, perhaps I will go there. Your big martial sister is here. I'm going. Yi Mo turned to leave. He knew that Luo Xian's big martial sister doubted him, so he didn't want to see her. Luo Xian suddenly said, Yi brother, wait. Luo Xian took out a small jade bottle from her pocket carefully and gave it to Yi Mo. Yi brother, there's only 3 chi recovery pills here, keep them. Yi Mo took the jade bottle. It was because of these pills that he truly understood Luo Xian. Seeing Yi Mo disappear from her sight, for the first time, Luo Xian disconsolate. She had this unexplainable feeling of lost and sadness in her heart. She knew that Yi Mo wouldn't be able to get into the small world at all. Luo Xian, do you like him? Luo Yin suddenly appeared beside Luo Xian and looked at Yi Mo and asked. Luo Xian was shocked awake. She quickly put the things in her hands into her pocket and said with a bursting red face, Martial sister, what are you talking about? Yi brother has someone he likes, and I'm a Dao cultivator. After a while, as though asking her martial sister or as though asking herself, can we meet again? Luo Yin smiled. Luo Xian, you gave your most qi recovery pills to him, and you're still going to say you don't like him? Perhaps the most precious wasn't the qi recovery pill but that jade bottle. Martial sister, you saw it. Luo Xian's face was blushed, but it was more due to longing and sadness. Luo Yin sighed. Let's go, Luo Xian. We're not of the same world as him. You're right. You won't be able to meet again even if he's from the outer hidden sects. Some things are best left aside. If you think about it too much you will hurt your spirit. And, the things he gave you, don't let Master see when we go back or she will be disappointed. I know, Martial's sister. Luo Xian looked down. She knew that Yi Mo would not be able to enter the small world even if he knew the entrance no matter how strong he was. And after she went in, she wouldn't be able to come back out. Even if she could, it would be 50 years later. 50 years, how many 50 years can a person live? A rumble sounded, a white passenger jet shot into the blue sky disappearing amongst the clouds. Luo Xian could no longer control her emotions as her tears splashed on the stony ground but the mark disappeared quickly. Luo Yin sighed and held Luo Xian's hand, just like your tears on the ground, he will disappear quickly. Let us go, Luo Xian. Yi Mo saw Luo Xian and her martial sister get on the plane and ensured there were no masters following, before turning to leave Chun'an Airport. Half an hour later, Yi Mo appeared at Ninghai. He packed away the flying sword and called a taxi returning to that house he lived at with Ning Qingxue. Standing at the door, Yi Mo actually felt empty. His spirit sense immediately scanned that Xu Wei wasn't there. Did she move away? Her room was empty. There was nothing. It seemed she really moved away. Yi Mo opened the door lost in thought as he walked in. There were many leaves on the ground in the yard, obviously. There hadn't been anyone to manage the garden for a long time. Only that silver heart grass on the flower pot barely survived, but its dry leaves showed that no one had been caring for it for a long time. Yi Mo silently walked to the flower pot and touched the silver heart grass with his hand gently. As though feeling something, the grass seemed a little more alive. Yi Mo took out a bottle of water and tipped it around the silver heart grass. The water soon seeped in. At this moment, a voice sounded from outside. Who's back? Can I come in? Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense out and thought strangely, why would she be back? Yi Mo was sitting on the flower pot but he stood up now. He looked at the woman who came in and asked, Jingwen, why did you come? I just came back as well. Yi Mo was sitting on the flower pot but he stood up now. He looked at the woman who came in and asked, Jingwen, why did you come? I just came back as well. Su Jingwen seemed more fatigued and stressed than a year ago. She was pleasantly surprised when she found that the person in the yard was actually Yi Mo. Yi Mo, it's actually you? I thought it was Xu Wei coming back. Yi Mo smiled. Jingwen, long time no see. You seem not quite well recently. By the way, did Xu Wei move away? Su Jingwen heard the first part of the sentence and her face immediately became dull. But after hearing Yi Mo ask about Xu Wei, she immediately turned around and replied, yeah, Xu Wei has been gone for a long time. Every time I come past here, I would always think you or Qingxue would come back. Today, I saw the door seemed to be open so I came to ask. I didn't think you really came back. I thought I was dreaming. Hearing about Qingxue, Yi Mo's face also went dull and after a moment, he asked, Jingwen, have you ever seen Qingxue? Did she come back to live here? Although he knew that Ning Qingxue probably wouldn't come back, Yi Mo still couldn't resist to ask. The reason he didn't go to Xianjiang first and instead came back to Ninghai was because deep in his heart, he hoped that Qingxue had come back but the reality was she didn't. Even the silver heart grass she was taking care of died. There was a sliver of disappointment in Su Jingwen's eyes. Just then when Yi Mo said she didn't seem to be doing too well, she actually felt happy because he cared about her. But quickly, he asked about Xu Wei and Ning Qingxue. It was as though she just came here to pass on a message. But soon, Su Jingwen set right her mentality. She was only normal friends with Yi Mo, and Yi Mo saved her mother's and her life. Now that Yi Mo asked about Ning Qingxue, Su Jingwen still replied despite feeling a little disappointed and hurt. Qingxue went back to Yu State after getting hurt on the streets in Ninghai last time. She never came back again. I called Li Mumei saying that I wanted to visit her. Li Mumei told me that Qingxue seemed to have lost some of her memories, but Qingxue's mother doesn't want her to remember anything. So. Although Su Jingwen didn't say why, Yi Mo could guess it. It was that Ning Qingshue's mother was scared she would remember things after seeing Su Jingwen, so her mother stopped everyone Ning Qingxue knew in Ninghai to go see her. Su Jingwen did know something about Ning Qingxue. Li Mumei told her. It was probably that after the incident, Ning Qingxue forgot the time she stayed with Yi Mo. Seeing Yi Mo's disappointed eyes, Su Jingwen sighed. That student in her eyes before became a mature man, a man troubled by love. At the moment when Su Jingwen saw Yi Mo's disappointed eyes, she actually had this feeling in her heart. Perhaps it was because Ning Qingxue didn't love Yi Mo that deep. If she did, she would have some impressions of him, no matter how little it was. Yi Mo suddenly thought that he still hadn't asked what was wrong with Su Jingwen since she came here. This was not very polite. Yi Mo quickly asked, "Jingwen, I just got back and the house is a bit messy. Is there anything I can do for you?" "Oh, Yi Mo, are you free now?" Su Jingwen came to her sense and quickly asked. Yi Mo nodded, I do." Su Jingwen immediately said, "I want to invite you to food, is that fine?" Yi Mo smiled, "Of course. If I don't have much money on me, it should be me inviting you. You've already treated me to food once." Su Jingwen's face immediately brightened up. "Let's go. My car is just outside." Hearing Su Jingwen's words, he immediately knew that Su Jingwen probably didn't happen to drop by here but came here intentionally. This definitely wasn't her first time. She might have been doing this every day. Su Jingwen's car had this faint aroma, similar to her body smell. It could be seen that she really liked this smell. Just when Yi Mo closed the car door, Su Jingwen turned around and said, "Yi Mo, how about we go to Westlake Restaurant again, how?" Yi Mo immediately remembered that elegant and voluptuous Fang sister and the dishes with the same price for everything, as well as the moment when he first ate with Su Jingwen. I really like the tea Fang sister makes. Let's go there." Yi Mo nodded in agreement. Su Jingwen started her car and didn't go far before her phone rang. Su Jingwen picked up the phone and looked at the number. She frowned and hung up. However, her actions seemed to be of no use as her phone rang again. Yi Mo said, "Jingwen, let's swap. You sit here and I'll drive." Su Jingwen stopped the car and swapped seats with Yi Mo. When her soft and plump but passed by Yi Mo reacted to it down there. Luckily it was very short. Yi Mo felt a little awkward. He realized that he didn't have the self-control he thought he did in these things. He even thought of that deep ravine on Ning Qingshue's chest at the bottom of the Shennong-jiao cliff. Yi Mo shook his head and cleared his thought, focusing on driving. Although she pretended nothing happened, Su Jingwen's face blushed a little. Putting these things aside, Su Jingwen answered the phone. "Cousin, what do you want?" "Oh, I'm outside with a friend now. I don't have time to go. You can go by yourself." "At night?" "Sorry, I don't have time at night, either. I'm hanging up." Yi Mo didn't ask about it. If Su Jingwen had something, she will tell him. Since she didn't, he didn't need to ask. It suddenly became silent in the vehicle, as though feeling this awkward silence. Su Jingwen suddenly said, "Yi Mo, you are that master who sold me the charms, right?" "Thank you. You saved my mother and you saved me." Yi Mo also guessed that Su Jingwen probably recognized him, so he didn't deny. Although she knew that Yi Mo was the person who sold her the charms, Su Jingwen was still very excited when Yi Mo admitted it to her. "It really is you. Thank you, Yi Mo, and thank you for the bracelet you made for me last time." Yi Mo just realized that Su Jingwen was wearing the coarse bracelet with 2 beads. Last time, he saw Ning Qingshu have 3 beads. It was probably given to her by Su Jingwen. He immediately thought about the bracelet he told Ning Qingshu to bring over, so he asked, "Jingwen, last time I asked Qingxue to bring you a bracelet. How come you didn't wear it?" Yimo was curious as that latter bracelet was much better than the current one. Why did Su Jingwen wear the bad one and put away the good one? Su Jingwen hesitated before saying, "Ah, I like this one. Did you give the other for me? I'll go back and wear it on the other hand then." Yimo nodded and didn't say anything. It was her business that which one she liked. "Are you coming back to live in Ninghai?" Su Jingwen saw that Yimo seemed to have something in his mind constantly, so she asked. "No, I'm finding a friend to ask where the Qiyang mountain is. I'm just passing by Ninghai," Yimo said. "Qiyang mountain?" Su Jingwen repeated strangely. Seeing that Su Jingwen's tone seemed to be a little strange, he asked immediately, "Jingwen, you've heard of the Qiyang mountain?" Su Jingwen quickly shook her head and said, "No, I don't know about it, but I saw some pictures online last week. Someone went to tour at Mount Kunlun and found a black plate. The plate had the words Qiyang in traditional Chinese characters." Yimo thought and quickly asked, "Is it just these two words?" Su Jingwen shook her head and replied, "No, one of them is Qiyang Shadow Cliff, the other is He Liu Thousand River." So it was in the Mount Kunlun region. It seemed he still needed to ask Zhong Zhuhui. They were about to arrive at West Lake Restaurant and Yimo suddenly turned the car and followed a black Audi. He saw on his Audi a youth and felt his spirit sense marker again. This marker was the one he made on the GU bug. The GU was on Chen Qing and he didn't expect to feel it this quick again. Su Jingwen quickly said, "Yimo, the West Lake Restaurant isn't this way." Yimo just realized Su Jingwen was still on the car and said apologetically, "Sorry, Jingwen, I just saw a very important person. I forgot this was your car. How about I get off the car first and after I'm done with this, I'll treat you to food." Although Su Jingwen wasn't too happy, she still said, "Why are you getting off? Can't I go with you?" "Okay, but this is purely personal. I'm afraid it will cause trouble for you." As Yimo spoke, he noticed that car stopped by a bar called Wei Xian. Everyone knew what people did at bars. One rarely went there purely for drink, so Yimo had some concerns bringing Su Jingwen in. "Wait, Yimo, I see that everyone who goes in here needs a membership card. We don't have one. How do we go in?" Su Jingwen was very meticulous. She followed Yimo into the door and noticed that everyone in this Wei Xian had this membership card. "Wait, Yimo, I see that everyone who goes in here needs a membership card. We don't have one. How do we go in?" Su Jingwen was very meticulous. She followed Yimo into the door and noticed that everyone in this Wei Xian had this membership card. Yimo turned back and smiled, "It's fine. I have one." Then, he pulled out a card exactly the same as the person before him. Su Jingwen's face changed and seemed to have thought of something but eventually didn't say it and just nodded. Indeed, when Yimo used the card at the door, the person didn't stop them, instead, he bowed and led them in. "I'll have room 207. Yimo's spirit sense found the target in room 205 and two women seemed to have been brought in. 207 and 205 were right next to each other. The two went in the room. Yimo sent off the waitress and hung the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. Seeing Yimo close the door, Su Jingwen's heart started beating faster. Of course she knew what people usually did here, she even heard whining from one door. Didn't Yimo say he was following someone? Why did he bring her here? And, this room seemed to have an intimate atmosphere. Even being with Yimo, Su Jingwen felt a little uneasy. Yimo's spirit sense immediately scanned the situation but couldn't hear any sound. He was prepared to direct the sound into the room when he turned around and saw Su Jingwen, who seemed a little anxious. He immediately understood why she was so nervous. If it was just him entering this room and closing the door, people would suspect him. If he found someone he didn't know, he couldn't let them know what he was doing. Thinking about this, he said apologetically to Su Jingwen, "Sorry, Jingwen, for inconveniencing you like this, but the person I'm following today is very important, so I need to know what they are doing at Ninghai." Su Jingwen's face eased up and fixed her hair and smiled, "It's fine. I don't have anything on anyways." After hesitating for a long time, she finally seemed to have made up her mind and asked, "Yimo, did you always come here frequently before?" Yimo dazed and replied, No, this is my first time here today. What's wrong? Su Jingwen's eyes brightened up and asked immediately, but how do you have this VIP card? I never saw you apply for it. Yimo suddenly understood Su Jingwen's meaning. She must not like such facilities and thought he came here frequently. Yimo immediately smiled and said, when we came in, weren't there two people who happened to leave? I borrowed it from the person who passed me. So that was it. Su Jingwen suddenly breathed easy but immediately felt shocked. When Yimo came with her, he didn't stop at all, but he could still take someone's VIP card. This was too unbelievable. They just brushed past each other. How short was that time interval? But thinking about Yimo's master identity, she understood. And that little sliver of discomfort deep in her heart disappeared. However, she immediately thought, why would she be unhappy if Yimo came here a lot? Su Jingwen looked at Yimo again, and Yimo was already standing at the corner. He had a small dagger in his hand and it cut into the wall like tofu. After a brief moment, the conversation next door passed in. However, the conversation wasn't normal. It seemed to be the dirty talk between two men and women. Heavy breathing and whining sounded. Su Jingwen's face was red as an apple, even her neck turned pink. She looked at Yimo. Yimo's concentration didn't seem to be distracted at all. Her heart shook. Did Yimo like to hear this whining sound? But seeing Yimo's serious face, she knew that that wasn't the case. It must be due to something else. Yimo was indeed noticing these two men who just walked in. One of them had the spirit sense marked GU on him, but Yimo couldn't understand why they wanted women as soon as they came in. They didn't even talk but were so focused into their business. If his spirit sense mark wasn't there, he really would have thought he followed the wrong person. After a few minutes, the brawl ended and then the two girls were sent away. They put on their clothes and started drinking beer. Yimo suddenly smelled this faint aroma and remembered that Su Jingwen was here. Thinking about the noise just then, he felt apologetic. He should have opened the sound later. Sorry, Jingwen, I didn't expect that to happen just then. Yimo said awkwardly. Su Jingwen with a bursting red face glared at Yimo. She didn't even say it's fine. It meant that she was really angry. Seeing Yimo's troubled state, Su Jingwen took back her glare and then said, only this time. Next time I won't forgive you. Yimo finally felt relieved a little. He wouldn't be with her next time for sure. This time was just a coincidence. I know you're not trying to listen to that. What are you trying to listen to? Su Jingwen suddenly came up beside Yimo, making Yimo remember her soft ass on the car. Coupled with the scene he just saw, his heart couldn't help to sway. As though feeling Yimo's unsual eyes and the heat from his body, Su Jingwen immediately rolled her eyes on Yimo. You're not allowed to think dirty. Even if you do, think about your Qingxue, don't think about me. Hearing about Qingxue, Yimo's heart went cold. That hot feeling went away immediately. Even his eyes went sad. Su Jingwen immediately regretted after saying it. Why did she have to mention Ning Qingxue? Yimo's change in expression couldn't escape Su Jingwen's meticulous eyes. She found that Yimo had become cold and indifferent. Those romancing eyes disappeared without a trace. Sorry, I didn't mean it. Su Jingwen felt more regret for her words and moved closer to Yimo. Yimo smiled. It's fine. I lost track of my thoughts. Thanks for reminding me. Although Yimo had regained his composure, when Su Jingwen moved close to Yimo, she felt that yang and refreshing kai from Yimo's body and actually felt a little lost like Yimo just then. She forgot she was getting closer and closer to Yimo. Yimo looked at Su Jingwen and knew that she probably felt regret for her words just then, but he didn't mind it that much now. The two people next door, one only had one eye. Although both of his eyes looked normal, under the scan of spirit sense, one eye seemed dull. Other than the one eye, the other was a robust youth. This youth was more than one. 9M and the GU was on this youth. Han's eye, are you feeling better now? The one eye looked at the robust youth and said plainly. The robust youth nodded, yes, ninth uncle. I feel a lot more easy now, and that feeling of worry and fear disappeared. The one-eyed smiled, the first time I killed, I was worse than you. At that time, It was an earth-red Qian Bei taking me to find a woman to relax. Then, each time I kill, I need to find a woman to relax. This is your first time killing. You will get used to it. You just joined the organization and you were assigned to human yellow. This means the uppers look highly of you. Hanzai agreed and continued to ask, Ninth uncle, is the Qian Bei who led you heaven-level killer? One Eye shook his head. After he reached Earth Purple, there was no news of him again. I heard his last mission was in Africa and after that, no one has heard of him again. Is that Qian Bei living in hiding? After we reach heaven-level killer we can choose our own life. Hanzai said with longing. One Eye waved his hand and said, we'll talk about this after we go back. We should talk about our next target now. Only us two came to Ninghai this time. If we do things well, we may rank up. You might even rank up 2 levels. Hanzai nodded and listened to One Eye's instructions. One Eye took out a map. We've been to the house Yimo lives at. There's no one living there. But there are really quite some people who are familiar with Yimo in Ninghai. One of them is a teacher called Yunbing in Ninghai Uni. I heard she's pretty close to Yimo and she has a kid too. This kid is our target tonight. There's also another woman called Su Jingwen. She's also close with Yimo and is also the other target of tonight. Hanzai nodded and said, now I understand the terror of offending us Earth Fiend. I don't know who this Yimo is but he dares to act against the Earth Fiend. Then, Hanzai shook his head. One-Eyed said seriously however, Hanzai, don't worry about that. Our mission is to kill. Whoever our uppers tells us to kill, we kill. Don't even mention other things, okay? Su Jingwen froze. She even forgot she was almost on Yimo. Su Jingwen froze. She even forgot she was almost on Yimo. Yimo looked apologetically at Su Jingwen and said, sorry, Jingwen, I brought this on you this time. These people have big feud with me. They are like mad dogs. Whoever offends them, they will annihilate. I just didn't expect that they won't even let go of the friends I know. Hearing Yimo's words, Su Jingwen suddenly realized that she was just normal friends with Yimo and they were going after her. What tragedy would happen to Yimo's close friends and relatives? Yimo, your family in Beijing and Qingxue. Yimo knew what she meant. Yimo smiled, they won't have a chance, at the latest, tonight. I will pull this organization from the roots. Seeing Yimo smiling with killing intent, Su Jingwen's heart shook. She had never seen this side of Yimo. He actually had such intense killing intent. Perhaps she never really understood who Yimo was and only saw one facet of him this whole time. I'm fine. Don't worry. What should we do now? Su Jingwen looked worriedly at Yimo. Although she didn't know who One Eye and Hanzai were, she could tell that they belonged to an extremely strong organization. Yimo stood up. Let's go and have a chat with next door. Su Jingwen looked in surprise. We're going to them now? Yes, we go now. I'll collaborate with them. Yimo nodded and said. But, they are all killers. How can they collaborate with us? Su Jingwen looked at Yimo in confusion. They will. Then, Yimo stood up and brought Su Jingwen out of the room. Jingwen, how are you here? You. At the same time Yimo opened his room, the door opposite to them, 206, also opened. A handsome youth with his arms around a girl whose face was still red came out and the instant he saw Su Jingwen, his face was full of shock. Su Jingwen also dazed and after a moment called, Wei Zhang cousin? How come you are here? That handsome youth almost couldn't believe his eyes. After a long time, he reacted and his face went green. He pointed at Su Jingwen with his finger and said, Jingwen, you actually opened a room here with a man. How shameless are you? You. Su Jingwen never thought the cousin who had always been nice and amicable to her became so hideous. He actually pointed at her face and called her shameless. She said angrily, Xie Weizhen, what's my being here got to do with you? Who are you to me? Aren't you here with another woman yourself? What right do you have to talk about me? You. Xie Weizhen felt so fury. Thinking about the woman who he had thought about for many years was being slept by another man, he could no longer control himself. I'm a man. I have some entertainment, so what? It's just for fun on occasion. But you are so shameless coming here with another man. Xie Weizhen was irate. In his mind, Su Jingwen belonged to him, no one else could touch her. But now, he even didn't get a chance to touch her, but someone else got in bed with her first. Su Jingwen looked at Xie Weizhen, who had lost his mind. After a moment, she calmed down. She suddenly reached out her hand and grabbed Yimo's arm and stuck closely to him and said plainly to Xie Weizhen, I didn't say anything about your entertainments. You are you, I am me. Am I related to you? What right do you have to tell me what to do? I like booking hotels with other people. What's that got to do with you? I love Yimo, so what? Su Jingwen was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. Once she was angered, she wouldn't care about anyone or anything. Plus, to Su Jingwen, Xie Weizhen overreacted way too much. Okay, I thought you were very busy. You said you had things with your friend, so this was the thing? You shameless woman. Even if you want it, can't you tell me? Can I not satisfy you? Xie Weizhen was almost going crazy with jealousy. He walked up a few steps towards Su Jingwen and slapped with his hand. Su Jingwen, who had calmed down already, was triggered again by Xie Weizhen. She really didn't think that her cousin would be this crazy when he got angry. He had no sense of reason at all. Yimo heard they were cousins, so he didn't intervene, but now that Xie Weizhen was going to hit her, he wasn't going to keep watching. Before Xie Weizhen's hand reached Su Jingwen, Yimo already grabbed his wrist and slapped a few palms back. Then, he kicked. Xie Weizhen was slapped so hard that his mouth was full of blood and a few teeth fell out. Then, he was kicked back into the room. The sound of him crashing into the ground could even be heard outside. That woman with Xie Weizhen screamed and quickly rushed inside to check up on Xie Weizhen. Su Jingwen was shaking with anger. Her face was pale and couldn't say anything in a long time. Yimo sent some Kai into Su Jingwen's body to help her calm down. Sorry, Yimo, I don't feel too comfortable. I'm going back. Su Jingwen calmed down and looked apologetically at Yimo. Yimo quickly said, It's fine. Go back, I'll be fine by myself. I caused this to you today. Don't say sorry. Su Jingwen suddenly looked up at Yimo and seemingly wanted to say something but eventually didn't say anything. She turned and left. Yimo followed Su Jingwen with his spirit sense until she got on the car and left. Then, he shook his head helplessly. Su Jingwen's cousin was too much of a douchebag. But then, Yimo cast these thoughts aside and knocked the door on 205. Who is it? We don't need any service here. One Eye's coarse voice sounded. Yimo suddenly pushed open the door and looked at the two who were in shock and said plainly, You don't need service, but I do. Who are you? How did you open this door? One Eye looked at Yimo in shock. He clearly locked the door, but how was Yimo able to open it? The sensitivity to danger of being a long-term killer immediately surged up. In the twinkling of an eye, he had a black pistol in his hand. Han's eye also looked at Yimo with vigilance while a triangular small spear appeared in his hand. Yimo didn't seem to see their actions at all nor look at the pistol in One Eye's hand. He just walked in and sat down. After sitting down, Yimo looked calmly at One Eye. You're called Ninth Uncle, right? I'm coming to save your life today, but if you don't listen I don't mind sending you to hell. You're asking to die. Ferocity flashed across One Eye's eye as he raised his pistol instantly and fired. Yimo suddenly raised his hand as well, and at almost the same moment One Eye fired, he caught a bullet with his 2 fingers and his face went cold. If you dare to fire a second shot, I don't mind embedding this clip into your forehead. You caught a bullet with your hand? One Eye's tone became shaky, even his hand was shaking. He heard that some ancient martial arts masters could catch bullets with bare hands. But this youth who was this close to him, only a few meters, not only caught the bullet but with 2 fingers. Even ancient martial arts masters can't do that. Is he still human? Yimo flicked his fingers and the bullet flew by almost along One Eye's ear, shooting into the wall behind him. Just when One Eye was more shocked, Yimo's cold voice sounded, If I want to kill you, it's only a matter of 1 finger. If you still want to live, I suggest you not to move. My patience isn't that good. I won't forgive you the second time. Crank. One-Eye's pistol fell on the ground. He actually lost his will to fight. He was a killer. What sort of people hadn't he seen before? What could make him lost his will to fight? But this youth in front of him rendered him shaking, feeling that the youth was undefeatable. He had a feeling that no matter what tricks he had, they were all useless in front of this person. He would die as soon as he tried anything. Who was this person? When did he offend such a person? Hanzai also looked at Yimo in shock. His weapon also slunk. Yimo catching the bullet electrocuted him too much. Was this something humans did? Chen Bei. You. One-Eye felt that this person seemed familiar. He looked like that Yimo on the picture he was shown, but this was too shocking that he didn't dare to believe. If Yimo was such a terrifying person, wouldn't it be suicide trying to kill people related to him? I'm Yimo, the person you want to kill. Yimo smiled plainly. His tone was extremely plain. They both felt hopeless. If this terrifying person in front of them was Yimo, then they had no chance of living at all today. The one-eyed suddenly gritted his teeth. This person in front of him was indeed Yimo. He didn't expect Yimo to be such a potent being. If Yimo wanted to kill him and Hanzai, they wouldn't be able to escape no matter what tricks they played, but he still had a sliver of hope. It was that Yimo wasn't going to kill them but negotiate with them. Otherwise, with his skills, he would have long killed him and Hanzai. The one-eyed suddenly gritted his teeth. This person in front of him was indeed Yimo. He didn't expect Yimo to be such a potent being. If Yimo wanted to kill him and Hanzai, they wouldn't be able to escape no matter what tricks they played, but he still had a sliver of hope. It was that Yimo wasn't going to kill them but negotiate with them. Otherwise, with his skills, he would have long killed him and Hanzai. Yi Qianbei, I know the gap between us is big. In your eyes, perhaps I'm not even an ant. If you have any requests, please tell us, but if you want us to betray the Earth Fiend, then just kill me. One-eyed gritted his teeth. Either way, it was going to be death, so he might as well be straightforward. Yimo said calmly, you don't dare to betray Earth Fiend only because of your family or the GU bug that makes your fear. One-eyed looked at Yimo in shock. After a long time, he breathed out slowly. How do you know we have GU bugs in our bodies? GU bug was a mean for the Earth Fiend to control their subordinates. One-eyed had seen with his own eye that an Earth Fiend killer was caught back after betraying the organization. Then, the GU bug ate his flesh for 3 days and 3 nights. At that time, the flesh of that killer was almost eaten up, but he was still howling and wasn't dead. Ever since then, he had the belief that no matter what, he must not betray the organization. Yimo smiled, let's not talk about the GU bug in your body first. What I want to say to you is, do you know your final ending? Hanzai glanced once at One-Eyed and suddenly intervened, as long as we reach Heaven rank killer, we are free, so my goal is Heaven rank. Yimo laughed and immediately said coldly, let's not say whether you can live to reach Heaven rank, but even if you do, that would be the end of your life. You should know of the GU King, right? He controls you people with the GU bugs. This kind of GU bug will devour the life force and essence blood of the person you kill and digest it in your body. So what? One-Eyed shivered at Yimo's words but said without willing to back down. Yimo shook his head, no biggie. It's just that after you reach Heaven rank killer, the GU bug in your body will have matured and his final feast would be the life force and essence blood in your body. Of course, after consuming you, it has finished its task and they can be taken by your head, that GU King, to cultivate evil ways. You're bullshitting. One-Eyed shook in terror. He even knew that Yimo wasn't bullshitting but couldn't help denying it verbally. Yimo sneered, I'm not bullshitting. You know it yourself. Tell me, have you really ever seen any Heaven rank killer? You definitely won't be able to see one because they have been used as cultivate resource. It's that simple. Are you saying that the more laurels and honor we get, the closer to death we are? Hanzai asked shakily. He subconsciously felt that Yimo was right, very right. What do you think? Yimo didn't explain anymore and asked rhetorically. After long, One-Eyed sighed, I've been suspecting it for a long time. Why was there not a single Heaven rank killer? If they really were going to be free, They should let all the killers know. After all, we would have a goal to work for, but I've never heard of a single freed heaven rank killer. Now hearing Qian Bei's words, I believe Qian Bei's words are true. Ninth uncle, this. Han Zai also looked at One-Eyed in shock. He was speechless. After a moment of silence, One-Eyed looked at Yi Mo and said, Yi Qian Bei, I know it's very easy to kill us for you. I don't know why you don't kill us and still tell us the truth. We're very grateful for you, but we can't betray the organization. So if you're going to kill us, please do it fast. I Yongju will be very grateful. Yi Mo said calmly, if I was going to kill you guys would have been dead bodies long ago. Would I need to waste time talking with you? But I said we can't betray the organization. One-Eyed struggled. It's because you have the GU bugs in your bodies? Yi Mo looked at One-Eyed. One-Eyed decided to brawl and stood up. Yes, it's because of the GU bugs in our bodies. Qian Bei, you haven't seen these GU bugs before and you don't know how terrifying they can be. I would rather die immediately than betray the organization. What if I can get the GU bugs out of your bodies? Yi Mo said plainly. What? Qian Bei, you really can get them out? One-Eyed looked at Yi Mo in astonishment. Then, he immediately followed, Yi Qian Bei, if you can really take the GU bugs out of our bodies, my life will be yours. Then, One-Eyed knelt down on one knee. His expression was not only genuine but determined. Han Zai looked once at One-Eyed. Although he was bulky, it didn't mean he was dumb. He knew that if he didn't show his stance right now, he would be dead for sure. And, he never felt a sense of belonging with Earth Fiend. Thinking about this, Han Zai also knelt beside One-Eyed without hesitation. Who was the person you killed before? Yi Mo asked One-Eyed. He's a merchant from Macau in Ninghai. One-Eyed didn't even finish and was stopped by Yi Mo. He was no longer interested. Then, Yi Mo grabbed Han Zai's arm. He swiped with his hand and a yellow GU bug appeared in his hand. He was already middle stage Kai gathering now, and it was too easy for him to pick out a GU bug. One-Eyed and Han Zai looked at the GU bug in Yi Mo's hands in shock. They didn't think that such a terrifying thing was taken out by Yi Mo in such a brief moment. The organization dared to kill someone like him, but immediately, One-Eyed rejoiced. The stronger Yi Mo was, the happier he was. Yi Mo squeezed the bug and said, I took out this bug from Chen Qing and let it out. It's still marked by me. Where do you think you guys can go? Hearing Yi Mo's words, One-Eyed sweated cold sweat on his back. Yi Mo was already waiting for the Earth Fiend people to fall into his trap, and how funny it is that they dared to come kill Yi Mo. Although the GU bug in One-Eyed was a little more troublesome, Yi Mo only spent less than 30 seconds and took it out from One-Eyed. Seeing Yi Mo take out the two bugs and put them into two jade boxes and packed them away to some unknown place, One-Eyed felt his skin having goosebumps. The only feeling in his heart was, this Yi Mo was so terrifying. How many of you came to Ninghai? Yi Mo took out the GU bug and then asked. One-Eyed replied respectfully, Yi Qian Bei, there are 3 of us in total. Other than me and Han Zai, there's one more. But, he's waiting for our news. After we finish our mission, we will go to Beijing together. Yi Mo nodded and said, you too, make an oath that you must not betray me. Although One-Eyed and Han Zai had said that they would be loyal to him, that was due to the Yi Mo's threat. Yi Mo couldn't trust the two completely, so the oath was necessary. Other people can think of oath as a joke, but Yi Mo could make it become true. After the two made the oaths, Yi Mo quickly took out a drop of essence blood between the eyebrows of each of them and made them into 2 restrictions before sending them back. If they were cultivators, they would be able to get rid of the restrictions by cultivation quickly. But One-Eyed and Han Zai were ordinary people, so no way for them to dispel the restrictions. Although they saw Yi Mo's action, the two didn't dare to move at all. After the two made their oaths and he finished making the restrictions, Yi Mo then said, now, go find that companion of yours immediately. Qian Bei, are we going to take him here for Qian Bei to remove the GU bug? Han Zai asked immediately. Yi Mo sneered, remove the GU, do you think I'm a philanthropist? I only need you two to lead the way. As for the other person, kill him immediately, the faster the better. I don't want to wait a long time, but you must use this charm. When you see him, throw it over and say Lin. The reason Yimo gave the two a fireball charm was because he knew that if they didn't use the charm to kill, that Jiu bug would escape. Once it did, that Jiu King would be able to know very quickly. Of course, another reason was to intimidate the two. Hanzai still wanted to say something, but One-Eyed replied immediately, "Yes, Qianbei, we'll go immediately." One-Eyed felt shock and fear. If Yimo chose the other person, then they would be finished now. It was now he realized Yimo's decisiveness in killing, and he also knew why Yimo told him and Hanzai to kill. It was a symbol of loyalty. Yimo closed his eyes and didn't talk. After One-Eyed and Hanzai left, his spirit sense immediately scanned Xiaoweizhen. He was kicked and slapped by Yimo but was still in his room. But from how he kept calling, he was probably calling for backup. Yimo sneered. If Xiaoweizhen went away, then he would let it go, but if he was still going to piss him off, then he really can't be blamed. Xiaoweizhen was infuriated at this moment. Ever since he was young, he was the genius of his age. When had he got insulted like this in his life? Although Su Jingwen had never agreed to his pursuit, in his eyes, no one else could touch Su Jingwen. But now, not only was the woman of his dreams slept by another man and he was slapped in front of her and even lost a few teeth. If he could swallow the insult, then he wouldn't be Xiaoweizhen. So he would have Yimo's guts for garters. As for Su Jingwen, she was no more than a slut, but he wouldn't let her go for daring to betray him. Yimo took back his spirit sense. He really didn't consider this Xiaoweizhen a threat. He was waiting for One-Eyed and Hanzai. If they couldn't finish the job he gave them, then not necessary to keep them alive. Yimo took back his spirit sense. He really didn't consider this Xiaoweizhen a threat. He was waiting for One-Eyed and Hanzai. If they couldn't finish the job he gave them, then not necessary to keep them alive. One-Eyed didn't stay out for very long. An hour later, he had come back to Yimo's room with Hanzai. However, he held in awe and veneration when he looked Yimo. Yimo knew that it was his fireball charm that shocked him. "Yi Qianbei, the mission is done." Yimo nodded. "Not bad. Draw a map of your HQ for me." "Yes." One-Eyed sat down and took out pen and paper. Soon, he drew a rough map. Yimo took the image and looked. It was indeed different to the one Chen Qing gave him last time. It seemed that the Earth Fiend HQ wasn't at where the two drew, but these two places were two gathering spots. Seeing Yimo frown at the map, One-Eyed immediately said, "Yi Qianbei, when our killers are out on a mission, they will report back the situation every day. If at night someone still didn't report back, then it meant that something had happened to that killer. If we depart for Hong Kong at this moment, that person would have been long gone by the time Qianbei get there." Yimo smiled plainly. "I'm sure that when I arrive he won't be gone yet. You don't need to worry about it. Now I have another mission for you too. If you can do it well, then you don't need to call me Qianbei, and you can go work for my company. If you can't, then I don't need to say anything else. Yes, Qianbei, Yangju and Hanzai will be able to finish the mission." One-Eyed heard Yimo's words and rejoiced. He was very smart. He knew that Yimo had some concerns for them too. Now that Yimo said this, it meant that if they did the mission well, they could be treated as Yimo's own men. Just by Yimo's power, he felt that it wouldn't be too bad working for Yimo and he didn't need to worry about Jiu bug. "Okay." Yimo clapped. "In the room 206, there's a guy called Xiaoweizhen. He was attacking my friend, so I beat him up. I'm busy tonight, so I don't have time to play with him. You two can treat him. I guess this guy is calling people for help. If they do things over the top, you can kill them. I will take the responsibility." Yangju immediately said out loud, "Qianbei, don't worry. Such a clown I can kill in the flip of the hand." He was worried that Yimo looked down on his power because ever since Yimo walked in, they didn't even have the ability to resist. If Yimo looked down on their abilities, then he wouldn't give them two important tasks, so he needed to show himself and his true capabilities now. He needed to tell Yimo that other than him, Yimo, everyone was a piece of cake for an Earth-rank killer like him. "Okay, perhaps I will come back tomorrow. I will see what you do. That friend of mine is called Su Jingwen. She was originally the person you two were going to kill. Okay, I'm going. Then, Yimo left the room and disappeared without a trace. Seeing Yimo suddenly disappear, Yongju wiped the sweat from his forehead and gasped. Yimo gave him such a huge pressure. Especially that last sentence, he almost knelt down. Ninth uncle, this Yi Qianbei is too strong. I've never seen someone as strong as him and that fireball charm, it's just. Han Zai stuttered. Yongju sunk into silence for a while before saying seriously, Han Zai, I've gone to many places and experienced countless dangers. I've seen some tough people, even some ancient martial artists. I've even killed a yellow-level martial artist myself, but I've never seen someone as strong as Yimo ninth uncle. Han Zai looked hesitantly at Yongju. Yongju stopped him and continued, Han Zai, we can also take this as an opportunity. Yi Qianbei is definitely the strongest person I have seen. If he can really finish the Jiyu King, then we can sell our lives to him and don't plot anything. We will only get stronger if we follow the strongest. He thought of the fireball charm Yimo gave him and still felt fearful. There were many strange things in this world, but he had never seen a piece of paper that could turn a living person into flying dust in an instant. This was too out of this world. Yongju waved his hand and said, as for whether this is our fortune or hell, it all depends on this mission. Su Jingwen is the target we have to protect. You can see that Su Jingwen definitely isn't only an ordinary friend of Yi Qianbei. Perhaps she's Yi Qianbei's woman, so we must not fail this mission. Yes, ninth uncle, I will listen to you. Han Zai wasn't dumb. Dumb people wouldn't be able to enter Earth Fiend. He obviously knew how important this mission was. Yongju nodded and said, if we succeed this time, we can follow Yimo Qianbei, but if we fail, then death is the only thing that awaits us. So, even if we die, we can't let this mission fail. Ninth uncle, I think we might as well go in and do this to that Xie guy. Then, Han Zai made a cutting pose with his hand. Yongju sneered, can we go kill people in the open now? As soon as we kill that Xie guy, we will be hunted by the police. And if we are hunted by the police, how can we take care of Su Jingwen once that Xie guy's people attack her? Our main goal is to protect Su Jingwen, not kill this Xie Weijing. Plus, even if we are going to kill him, we must not let anyone know. Yimo found Su Jingwen sitting in a coffee shop dazing. He didn't know about Su Jingwen's feelings towards Xie Weijing, so he didn't go interrupt her. In Yimo's heart, Su Jingwen had always been his friend, a knowing friend. He didn't think too much. As to what Su Jingwen said at the doorway, he treated it as anger words. But, he felt that Su Jingwen had no feelings for that Xie guy at all. Su Jingwen wasn't as easy to talk to as she seemed. She had this stubbornness in her heart. If she had determined something, then no matter how you persuaded her, she would follow her own opinion. She was very strong-minded, while that Xie guy was too subjective. It was very hard for Su Jingwen to like such a guy. Yimo walked by Su Jingwen's car and opened her car door. He put a few fireball charms on her seat before leaving quietly. Although he believed Yongju's words, he couldn't believe anything completely. He still left Su Jingwen with some self-protection measures. If Su Jingwen was hurt due to him, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Su Jingwen sighed and walked out of the coffee shop. She didn't know why she said such words. It wasn't because of his cousin, but he was afraid Yimo would look down on her for saying such stuff. And, would Yimo misunderstand due to her cousin's words? But, she couldn't go up to Yimo and explain such things. This made her very troubled. Although her cousin's attitude and vicious words hurt her a lot, that wasn't the main thing now. She didn't even care about it at all now because she had completely seen what sort of person her cousin was. Before she felt apologetic for rejecting her cousin, but now she didn't feel that at all. She still couldn't believe that the person she met today was the cousin who was usually very gentlemanlike. Su Jingwen opened the car door and felt lost. At this moment, she suddenly really wanted to go look for Yimo but didn't have the courage. Su Jingwen looked at the 5 fireball charms on her seat in shock and suddenly felt warm. Yimo came but saw that she was absent-minded in the coffee shop and didn't go in, but he still cared about her and left 5 charms fearing that her cousin would do bad things to her. Although she knew that her cousin wouldn't do something over the top, Su Jingwen still grabbed the fireball charms tightly. She was very grateful for Yi Mo. Yi Mo stood on the flying sword and flew to Hong Kong like a speeding comet. Earth Fiend was too nefarious of an organization, killed so easily. A minute that this organization existed, Yi Mo felt uncomfortable for a minute. Yi Mo felt a little tired flying to Hong Kong because this distance was a little far. His cultivation level was still a little low. Yi Mo found a place where no one was and landed. He was prepared to rest a little bit before releasing the GU bug and following it to the GU King. Just when the sky got dark, Yi Mo's cultivation essence recovered. He took out that yellow GU bug and threw it out. That GU turned into a yellow ray and disappeared. Yi Mo followed it with the speed as fast as the GU. However, a few minutes later, the yellow bug flew into a mansion in a vast expanse of land. Just when the sky got dark, Yi Mo's cultivation essence recovered. He took out that yellow GU bug and threw it out. That GU turned into a yellow ray and disappeared. Yi Mo followed it with the speed as fast as the GU. However, a few minutes later, the yellow bug flew into a mansion in a vast expanse of land. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense in and immediately followed. The GU fell into a blue-clothed man's hands. The man looked like he was in his 40s, but his face was very bleak and had no emotions. However, his power seemed to be not much lower than Tan Jiao. It surpassed Earth-level tertiary stage and was Earth stage peak. There was such a master hidden in the cities and cultivated for such a short time. Yi Mo was sure that the man had cultivated no more than 30 years. He could reach this state in 30 years. It could be seen that this person was not only talented but his cultivation method must be extraordinary too. Yi Mo knew how hard it was to cultivate ancient martial arts. He had seen many cultivation methods for ancient martial arts and their ways of opening meridians were very trash. It was complete trash compared to Spirit Kai cultivation methods. Even if Yi Mo cultivated ancient martial arts himself, he would need 5 to 6 decades to reach Earth level, and during these years, he would need medicinal herbs to support it. The blue-clothed man was in his 40s but was already halfway to Great Heaven state. It could be seen that his cultivation method was overpowered. Who knew how many essence blood bugs this guy had devoured to reach this stage? The man held the yellow GU bug Yi Mo released as his face turned blue. He really didn't expect that the host of this bug was killed twice in such a short time. Who is it? You dare to kill the host of my bug? If I don't turn you to dust, then I would have wasted this 30 years of cultivation. Sha 3, come over. The blue-clothed man said in anger and couldn't control his fury as he slapped the table in front of him to pieces. A black-clothed man dashed from the side and walked in front of the man. He knelt down with one knee and said, "GU King, Sha 3 awaits your command." The man's hideous face relaxed a little and said with a cold tone, "I planted this GU bug a few days ago on someone called Han Zai. Since the GU bug is here, it means that Han Zai is dead. I ordered Han Zai to kill Yi Mo's family. Since Han Zai is dead, this means that his death is related to Yi Mo. Immediately notify Sha 1 to ask Yang Ju about the situation. Then, tell him to assemble all the killers he can. Do not leave a single person behind in the Beijing Yi family. Kill everyone Yi Mo knows." "Yes." Sha 3 replied. The blue-clothed man sneered and looked at the GU bug in his hand. "I, Ren Sha, will show you the consequence of offending me and killing the host of my GU. Wait." The blue-clothed man called out and said, "After finishing the Yi family, bring those few women Yi Mo knows to Chun'an. I will go there personally to humiliate them." Then, the man's veins bulged on his head. Ever since he made his debut, no one dared to mess with him. Only he could go kill people. Who dared to kill his men? But today, several of his men were killed by a young man in his 20s. He wouldn't tolerate such a thing. Sha 3 just reached the door and was kicked back by a huge foot retreating tens of meters as he smashed into the blue-clothed man. He spat out more than 10 mouthfuls of blood and just died like that. A GU flew out and landed on the blue-clothed man's hand. The blue-clothed man's iris quickly retracted. One kick and his personal guard Sha 3 was dead. This man was definitely a dreadful being. He looked up and saw Yimo, who walked in through the door slowly. His face was calm, as though he didn't kick that foot, and Sha3 fell over himself. Who are you? Although everyone who went to kill Yimo knew what Yimo looked like, this blue-clothed man had never seen Yimo's picture. He didn't know Yimo, and from the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to lower himself to know Yimo. Although he didn't know Yimo, from how Yimo kicked Sha3 to death in one kick, he knew that this youth would definitely be able to threaten him. Although the youth wasn't as strong as him, he shouldn't be far from him. He didn't want to start a conflict with such a person. There was no benefit for him. Thinking about this, the blue-clothed man said, I have no feud with you. Why did you start trouble at my place and kill my disciple? Am I supposed to be scared of you? Yimo sneered, who am I? No feud. I'm the Yimo whom you were about to kill everyone related to. Tell me if we have feud. You are Yimo. The blue-clothed man's face changed. It went from bleak to astonishment. He knew that Yimo's power wasn't bad and had a few killing blows, but was at most black-level power, so he didn't care at all. As for Yimo killing many people of the He Liu sect, the news hadn't reached him yet. But when he saw Yimo today, he realized that he couldn't even tell how strong Yimo was. Only his trusted loyals knew this place. No one knew that he lived here. How did Yimo find him? Thinking about this, Ren Sha's heart sunk. He killed through any means necessary and was very vengeful and often killed many innocent people. However, he had his own standards, and that was the people who he killed had to have no threat to him. If they did, then he would resist it and try to avoid conflict until he had the power to take them out from the roots. But there were too little people in this world who could threaten him, and just listening to Yimo's age, he would know that Yimo definitely had no threat to him. But when he saw Yimo, he realized that he had made a big mistake. Yimo was not only a threat to him but a being no lesser than him. He didn't want to mess with such a person. If he knew that Yimo was this strong earlier, he wouldn't intervene with Yimo's matter, much less kill everyone near him. Ren Sha's sixth sense was very strong. Although he didn't think Yimo was a match for him, he didn't want to take risks. If he had another 3 years, he could reach Great Heaven stage. By then, Yimo would be an insect in his eyes. Then, another 2 men rushed in. Their appearances were similar to the Sha3 Yimo just killed. The 2 men walked up to Ren Sha and knelt down, saying, Jiyu King, we just received news that Lu Minute died in Ninghai, and Yang Ju and Han Zai are nowhere to be seen. You killed everyone I had in Ninghai? You were just in Chun and in the morning. How can you go to Ninghai to kill people? And then how can you appear here? Ren Sha's eyes turned fierce. He had seen Yimo's means and he didn't want to continue this with Yimo, but Yimo was the person who kept killing the hosts of his GU bugs. This made him infuriated. He had already forgotten what his killers went to do at Ninghai. Yimo sneered and raised his hands. 2 wind blades and the 2 men who knelt down on the ground were also killed by Yimo. 2 GU bugs flew out quickly, landing in Ren Sha's hands. You! Ren Sha could no longer hold in the anger and raised his hands. More than 10 different colored rays charged at Yimo. Ren Sha wanted to use GU bugs to attack him. Yimo sneered and shot out a Kai swirl. All the GU bugs were trapped by the Kai swirl. Before they could come out, they were burnt to crisp by Yimo's fireball. A putrid smell came and they turned to flying dust falling everywhere. Ren Sha looked at the ground filled by dust in shock. He was dumbfounded. There were indeed people who could counter his GU, but not this easily. It had been less than 3 minutes and they were all gone. In that instant, Ren Sha knew that the distance between him and Yimo was way too great. To the extent that he couldn't even stand a blow. Yimo was a Great Heaven master. No matter how much he didn't want to admit it, he was sure Yimo was a Great Heaven master. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to kill his GU so simply and easily. I'm not a match for you. All the GU bugs were killed by Yimo. Blood seeped out of the corner of Ren Sha's mouth. Although these GU bugs lived off other people's life essence, they were still cultivated by him. His spirit was affected when so many of them were killed. Yimo walked up a few steps slowly and said, Of course you're not a match for me. I don't need you to remind me. Before I die, can you tell me how you found me? Ren Shaw's eyes showed desperation. Yimo knew that Ren Shaw couldn't just give up like this, but Yimo wasn't afraid of anything Ren Shaw had planned. In his eyes, this Ren Shaw was at most the same as Tan Jiao. If this man didn't have the GU bugs, even Tan Jiao could instant kill this man. Your yellow GU. I captured it and I let it go. Of course it can bring me here, Yimo said plainly. Then, he raised his hand and let out a wind blade. Ren Shaw looked dumbly as Yimo chopped off one of his arm without a sound. He didn't even feel any pain. He couldn't understand how someone could follow the GU bug. What speed would that be? But the moment his arm was chopped off, he reacted. He raised his hand and shot out a black ray. Then, he retreated a few meters back and rammed into the wall. This wall actually fell apart. After Ren Shaw rammed into the wall, he disappeared in that extremely short time. Yimo didn't have time to check where Ren Shaw went because in that instant, he felt danger. After Ren Shaw rammed into the wall, he disappeared in that extremely short time. Yimo didn't have time to check where Ren Shaw went because in that instant, he felt danger. That black ray exploded with the Kai of destruction in front of Yimo. Yimo stood on the flying sword and rose to the sky without any hesitation. Rumble, almost at the same time, there was a loud explosion. That grandiloquent mansion turned into rubble. Yimo stood in mid-air looking at the rubble. He was shocked by this explosion. He didn't expect the GU King to still have such a card. If he was just a bit slower, even if he wasn't blown to pieces, he would be heavily injured. Such a lethal mean. Yimo looked at the smoking mansion. No one inside could survive. This wasn't ancient martial arts mean nor cultivation mean. That black ray was definitely technological. Yimo was sure that even Kai gathering tertiary stage cultivator wouldn't be able to take that explosion easy. This thing was much stronger than a grenade. There was the sound of the firefighters. Yimo's face sunk. He knew that since this GU King used such means, it meant that he didn't die at all. If he had to die, he didn't need to ram into the wall. If his sword didn't slice off one hand of his, perhaps Ren Shaw would have escaped without any damage. The reason that Yimo didn't kill him immediately was that he wanted to pull the entire organization from its roots. He didn't want to just kill the GU King. Since he came, he needed to kill them all. He just didn't expect the GU King to still have such traps. Nevertheless, Yimo wouldn't be scared. He scanned out his spirit sense. Moments later, Yimo found a deep trench behind that wall. This trench was very deep and was well designed. Yimo estimated that it was about 100 meters deep. The mechanism was designed like this. Once the wall was rammed, the trench would appear. Once someone dropped down, a net would catch the person and release him to the bottom. Then, there would be a transport tool at the bottom. Although Yimo hadn't seen this tool, he was sure it must have been taken by the GU King. Knowing GU King's escape route, Yimo didn't go down there however. He was thinking of a way in mid-air. He couldn't just go into the tunnel like that. This place was excavated by the GU King. If he planted a few more of those bombs like that, he would be heavily injured even if he managed to survive. Thinking about this, just when Yimo wanted to leave, the fire brigade was here. Rumble. There was another loud bang and not far from here. There was a huge explosion rupturing from the bottom of the ground, shaking over a nearby building. So vicious. Yimo looked at the explosion not far coldly. He wanted to kill this GU King more desperately. If he followed up just then, he wouldn't be able to escape that explosion no matter what. It could be seen that this GU King was really calculated. He could dig such a long tunnel underground. From this, it could be seen that not only was his wealth astonishing but he was also deeply connected. Normally, who dared to dig such an underground tunnel in this busy city other than the government? But since this was exposed, perhaps another bunch of corrupt people would be pulled out. Yimo didn't care about this. He went invisible and took out another GU bug. He marked with spirit sense and let it out. Then, he followed up. Dozens of kilometers from the exploded mansion, in a private manner, Ren Shaw appeared from an underground elevator with a pale face. At this moment, he had lost an arm but felt lucky to be alive. The setup he had made many years ago finally came to use. If he didn't have an underground escape route, he would have been killed by Yimo now. Yimo, if I don't kill you, I swear I'm not a human, Ren Shaw said with full of killing intent. He didn't expect Yimo to be this scary. He couldn't resist at all under his hands. Although he had many means that he hadn't used, he didn't think he could beat Yimo. He didn't even think that last blast could kill Yimo. If Yimo died that easily, then he wouldn't be so hard to deal with. But it was best if he was killed by that blast. Even if it didn't, Ren Shaw estimated that Yimo would be injured at least. No matter how Yimo was, he wasn't going to let him go. After his hand recovered, he would teach Yimo a lesson that he would never forget. However, in the depth of his heart, he still hoped that Yimo followed him into the underground tunnel and was killed in the explosion. Jiyu King. Another man walked over and knelt down on one knee. His facial expression was very reverent. As for his broken arm, it was as though he didn't see it. Immediately prepare a helicopter, I need to leave here. Ren Shaw said coldly, yes. This man replied and quickly left. In a short while, there was the sound of a helicopter in the field. Yimo followed the Jiyu bug, running around for a while before eventually coming to a private manor. Just when he came in, he saw a helicopter rise up. Yimo packed away the Jiyu and followed the helicopter with his flying sword. The helicopter landed on an island in the southern sea. This island belonged to Ren Shaw. It was his place for cultivation and holiday. Now, it was for refuge. Ren Shaw walked off the helicopter. His broken arm had stopped bleeding, the medicine he used were all top grade. It's just that he was injured the most this time. This made him very angry. No matter if Yimo was killed, he wasn't going to give up his plan of massacre. Yimo, I swear here today, that if I don't kill everyone around you, Ren Shaw didn't finish and was interrupted by a voice. What do you plan to do? Yimo's cold voice sounded by Ren Shaw's ear. Ren Shaw turned around and looked at Yimo, who suddenly appeared as though he was a ghost. He was completely frozen. Regardless of whether Yimo knew about this private island of his, even if he did, how could he come here this rapidly? He took a helicopter, could he fly or something? Are you human or ghost? Yimo's sudden appearance exceeded Ren Shaw's understanding. He couldn't imagine a live person teleporting from Hong Kong to this island. Yimo sneered, weren't you just making an oath to kill me? What, you're scared now that I'm here? I'm here for you to exact revenge. Ren Shaw's heart sunk into the bottom. He knew that Yimo was really here. His power exceeded his comprehension. Although he didn't know how Yimo came here, he knew that he had no chance now. How can you let me live? Whatever you say, I can do it. I'm willing to be your animal. Ren Shaw understood the situation and knelt down without hesitation. Usually, it was always other people kneeling down to him, but now, this was the first time that he knelt down to someone else to live. He was willing to do anything to live. He looked down and was desperate. He saw that behind Yimo's back, his henchman had taken out an assault rifle from the helicopter and was about to shoot at Yimo's back. At this moment, Ren Shaw's heart was beating rapidly, but he didn't dare to expose his thoughts. He just wanted his men to open fire quickly. Yimo didn't even look and just threw out a fireball. Rumble, the helicopter, and the man aiming at him all erupted into flames rushing into the air. Ren Shaw saw the explosion a few meters away. The searing heat had burnt his hair, but his heart became cold again. Yimo didn't seem to see the helicopter burning not far away. He wasn't affected at all and just looked at Ren Shaw plainly and said, I would never let out a mad dog to bite again. If you don't die, I can't rest easy. To me, you're just an ant. Looking at Ren Shaw, who still knelt on the ground, Yimo smiled, if you tell me how to pull your organization from its roots, perhaps I will give you a quick death. I'll fight to the death with you. Ren Shaw suddenly rushed up, pulling a soft axe from his waist and hacked towards Yimo's lower dantian. Yimo had seen soft whips and swords, but this was the first time seeing a soft axe. But Ren Shaw had lost an arm. No matter how quick he was, he wouldn't be able to reach Yimo. Yimo waved his hand and the other arm of Ren Shaw fell to the ground. The axe was kicked back by Yimo and it happened to ram into Ren Shaw's leg and slicing it off like tofu. Yimo took a step forward and slapped on Ren Shaw's head, yelling coldly, "Tell me, I want to kill all of Earthfiend, what method do you have?" Ren Shaw showed struggle in his eyes, but it was just a moment before he was lost and murmured, "I have a GU King. If something happens to my GU King, all the GU bugs under me will attack their hosts and fly back." Ren Shaw showed struggle in his eyes, but it was just a moment before he was lost and murmured, "I have a GU King. If something happens to my GU King, all the GU bugs under me will attack their hosts and fly back." It was actually that simple. Yimo once again saw the struggle in Ren Shaw's eyes and was amazed at his power. He quickly asked, "Are you the leader of the Earthfiend organization?" "No, Earthfiend was created by Shaw. After I came, I planted a GU in him, making him serve me." Ren Shaw replied very quickly this time. Yimo didn't expect that this internationally renowned Earthfiend was actually a puppet organization. In that case, he didn't have any reasons to hesitate. Yimo took out a dark green ball from Ren Shaw. There was a GU bug lying there. The essence, blood and life force on this GU bug was much stronger than those other ones Yimo destroyed. Ren Shaw had also completely woken up. He saw Yimo hold the GU King and his face rapidly changed. He knew that he had no way out now and his heart was full of resent. It had never occurred to him that someone he thought he could kill easily eventually killed him without even leaving him a chance to escape. The unwillingness in his eyes was deep. Yimo suddenly thought of the He Liu sect incident and asked, "Did you notify the hidden sects that I got the blood coral? How did you notify them?" As if knowing that he would still die anyways, Ren Shaw stopped saying anything but was secretly trying to shatter his aorta. Yimo scanned his spirit sense and immediately knew what Ren Shaw was trying to do. He tried to save his soul by committing suicide. Yimo didn't give it second thought before throwing out a fireball that surrounded Ren Shaw. Ren Shaw was stunned. He had already considered Yimo to be the most dangerous person but didn't expect that he could tell that he tried to protect his soul. Was Yimo even human? "I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost." This was the last howl from the fire. Yimo said coldly, "You won't have the chance to be a ghost, but now, you won't die yet. You can stay in that fire for a while." Finally, Ren Shaw's eyes showed that all hope was lost. If he had another chance, he would rather offend the entire hidden sects than Yimo. His eyes gradually became dead. Yimo looked at the GU King in his hand. If he was just going to kill it like that, he felt it was a waste. He knew that although this GU King was very low caliber in the cultivation realm, it was quite strong on Earth. Although he felt it was a waste, Yimo still enveloped the GU King in a fireball. He knew that even if he kept it, he couldn't keep it alive. He had no clue as to how to keep GU. The GU King struggled in the dark green ball, but in the fire, its struggle was a waste. Half a minute later, it finally stopped struggling and was turned to ash with that dark green ball. At the same time, in dozens of places on Earth, those Earthfiend killers were all attacked by the GU bugs. In a very short time, they turned into bloodless bodies and the GU bugs disappeared into the skies. Yimo sat on the small island. GU bugs kept flying back. Yimo knew this was because Ren Shaw hadn't died yet. When it was daybreak, Yimo had burnt all the GU bugs. Looking at Ren Shaw, who was on his last breath, he threw over another fireball and this Ren Shaw completely disappeared from the world. But when the GU bugs attacked the hosts, in an underground chamber in a temple in Hong Kong, a pale-faced man sat on the ground using his power to resist the devour of the GU. He was the original head of the Earthfiend, Shaw. Different to other people, he knew from the beginning that he was turned into a tool for cultivation for the GU King. When the time was right, he would be consumed. But knowing was one thing and avoiding it was another. He knew that if the GU King didn't need him to serve, he would have been long gone. The moment that the GU King's mansion was destroyed, he knew his chance had come. The GU King always killed people and now, he finally met his end. Shaw was waiting for this opportunity. The moment the mansion was destroyed, he brought his 2 men to the underground basement. Although Shaw was controlled by the GU bug, he used his connections and had much better information than Ren Shaw. Ren Shaw was very vengeful, ever since he came to the Earthfiend. This organization was completely different from before. It had turned into a retribution machine. So, Sho-won thought of all the ways he could to help the Earth Fiend find strong enemies, and this time, they messed with Yimo. Yimo was too young and he didn't look well on Yimo, but after investigating Yimo, he became hopeful of Yimo. He hid Yimo's true capabilities from Ren Sho, just so Ren Sho could annoy Yimo. As expected, things developed as planned. Even Sho-won didn't expect Yimo to act so fast. Yimo was in Chun in the morning, and at night, he had come to Hong Kong. Sho-won brought 2 men into the underground basement. He knew that Ren Sho had an underground escape route. Even he didn't know how to get in. Just when he thought Yimo couldn't kill Ren Sho, the 2 men and him starting experiencing attacks by the GU bugs. This made Sho-won very surprised and joyful. He knew that only when the GU king was killed would such thing occur. So when the GU started the attack, Sho-won also started his resistance. For the past decade, he had been constantly thinking of ways to resist the GU devouring. Finally, he thought of a way. Mutilation. He forced the GU into one arm and cut off that arm. Then, he quickly went into the metal room and closed the door. After eating the blood essence of that arm, the GU couldn't find Sho-won and flew off with the other GU bugs. Although Sho-won lost an arm, he forced out the GU bug and was very happy. He didn't dare to stay in the underground basement and quickly fled. The instant Su Jingwen packed away the charms, she remembered what happened when she came. She was too angered by her cousin, that's why she left. She thought about what happened with Yimo and her cousin and just remembered Yimo saying something about someone trying to assassinate her. Since those people were going to assassinate her, it meant that they wouldn't let Yimo go either. Then, what would happen to Yimo? But in the turn of an eye, Su Jingwen realized that she was too hysterical. If something was going to happen to Yimo, how could he come here and give her the fireball charms? Knowing Yimo's power, since he knew that there was someone trying to assassinate him, he would have a way to deal with it. Although she thought of this, Su Jingwen still felt a little guilty. She left before due to anger and didn't even care about Yimo's situation. She wondered if Yimo would come back. Su Jingwen sat in the car and waited for a long time but still didn't see Yimo. She started up the car disappointedly. At this moment, her mood was a little bad. It was because the cousin who had grown up with her became so rude, turning into someone she didn't even recognize. Was that still the cousin who helped her no matter what? She just couldn't put aside the words her cousin said today. Su Jingwen shook her head and tried to cast these things aside. She knew that no matter how Yimo handled the assassins, it wasn't suitable for her to stay outside. Thinking about this, Su Jingwen didn't hesitate to drive home. When Su Jingwen got home, she saw her cousin talk with her mother in the living room. Her face immediately changed. Seeing Su Jingwen come back, her mother Muan smiled and said, "Xiao Wen, your cousin has been waiting for you a long time, he says he has business with you." Su Jingwen rubbed her forehead and said plainly, "Mum, I don't feel right today, I'm going to rest." Then, she didn't even look at Xie Weizhen and just turned to leave. Muan looked strangely at her daughter. Although her daughter had always not really liked Xie Weizhen, she had never behaved like this today. Although Muan wanted Su Jingwen and Xie Weizhen to be together, she still respected her daughter's thoughts. "Jingwen, it's my fault today. I came to apologize. Please forgive me. I'm sorry." Xie Weizhen saw this and stood up apologizing. His tone was very genuine and serious. "Xiao Wen." Muan subconsciously thought it was her daughter being a little too grumpy. Even if Xie Weizhen did something wrong, he came up here to apologize. What else can't they sort out? Su Jingwen looked coldly at Xie Weizhen. "You pointed at me calling me a shameless woman. Why are you apologizing to me? Leave. I don't have you as a kin anymore. You don't need to say anything else, Xie Weizhen. Go." Muan heard Su Jingwen's words and her face also sunk. No matter what happened between the two, what right did Xie Weizhen have to call her daughter shameless? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.